Hollywood, starred as an agent. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination. So don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like. And if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 51. It's a bit hard to talk about. March wasn't just about the Oscars, but also the NCAA's March Madness. Unfortunately, none of that concerned Aaron, as Phone Booth was released in mid-March. Perhaps due to limited competition and a strong belief in the film's popularity, 20th Century Fox scheduled a 650-theater opening. With a 3-day opening weekend grossing $7.1 million, coupled with strong word of mouth, Phone Booth could be considered a success. After all, Phone Booth cost only $1.6 million to make. Century City, Fox Plaza Building. The office of 20th Century Fox President Joe Roth. Joe Roth glanced at Aaron Anderson, who sat across from him, then at the script for Ghost on his desk. A human and a ghost fall in love. Aaron, will there be a market for this kind of thing? Besides, a romance film with a production budget of $22 million is not a low amount. Aaron nodded. I know that some special effects will be used in the movie, so it's a bit expensive. Besides, the director is Edward Zwick and the leading actor is Kevin Costner. I'm very confident. 20th Century Fox invested $11 million for half of the shares. In the North American market, if the box office is less than $50 million, the distribution commission is 15%. For more than $50 million and less than $100 million, the distribution commission is 13%. For more than $100 million, it is 10%. Joe Roth knocked on the table and invested $11 million, accounting for half of the film's shares. 20th Century Fox needs a bottom line. Our capital investment must rank first in the level of return. Also, the distribution commission in the North American market will be charged at 15%. And in the international market, it will be charged at 30%, or you can sell it outright. This meant that regardless of Ghost's box office performance, 20th Century Fox must first recoup its production and promotional investments, including the $11 million filming costs. Internationally, according to international convention, the share of revenue for the producer, distributor, and theater is 35%, 17%, and 48%, respectively. 20th Century Fox added a 13% commission for its own distribution. While conventionally, a 10% commission would be sufficient for an international agent, being the agent of 20th Century Fox saved Aaron a lot of trouble, which he could accept. In the future, as the film's reputation grows, the distribution commission, both domestically and internationally, could be reduced to 8% to 10%. What Aaron couldn't accept was the minimum producer share in the North American and international markets. A mere 20% to 25% would be sufficient, given that Sugan was a startup. North America, a major market, already had a high producer share. Didn't 20th Century Fox want to take any risk? Fortunately, 20th Century Fox wasn't fully financing the film. Mr. Ross, you know, if I pre-sell the international distribution rights, I'm fully confident I can raise over $10 million. Aaron was reluctant because Ghost's box office was so high, and it would be a huge loss. Just like Dances with Wolves, Kevin Costner traded international distribution rights with Orion for part of the film's funding, leaving him with only the ability to watch the international box office in tears. With Aaron's track record of films like Sex, Lies, and Videotape and Cinema Paradiso, the international distribution rights for Ghost were definitely worth a look. Joe Ross smiled. Phone Booth can certainly create a lot of value for you, but Ghost is different. The cost of this film is 10 times that of Phone Booth. The important thing is, this is a fantasy romance, and you need a distributor to provide you with funding. Aaron thought for a moment. I'll think about it. Pretty Woman opens next week, and New Line's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles opens early next month. By the time the box office figures for both films are in, Aaron doesn't believe other companies will be interested in Ghost. He'll wait until he gets the profits from Phone Booth. Mid to late March is spring break for American college students, and the beaches of Los Angeles are packed with students letting loose. Jennifer Connelly even made the trip from Northern California to Santa Monica Beach. Aaron, holding the sexy Jennifer Connelly, lay on the beach, their eyes filled with a sea of white. Tens of thousands of college students indulged themselves on the long sandy beach, enjoying beer, champagne, rock music, beach volleyball, and a music stage. American college students, really, Aaron said, his sunglasses etched in shock. After all, last year, he'd been a hard-pressed slacker, not experiencing much firsthand. A winter of study, this week's their time to have fun. Jennifer Connelly, standing nearby in a sexy bikini, kissed Aaron. After paying taxes and expenses, Aaron now had nearly $600,000 in his account, more than enough for a good time, but that wasn't his ambition. Although 20th Century Fox, Paramount, Sony's Columbia, and Samsung had expressed interest in Ghost, the terms were difficult to negotiate. Funding would be demanding, unless Sugan financed the project itself and handed it over to them for distribution. These major distributors now release nearly 30 films annually, with only a minority producing and co-financing them. The majority are produced and distributed by other production companies. Getting funding from these distributors is no easy task. By the way, Aaron, Phone Booth has grossed $12 million now. Shouldn't you be happy? Phone Booth has only been out for 10 days, and this is already a huge success. It's now showing in over 1,100 theaters. Happy? Why not? Let's go to the bar for a drink, Aaron said, putting his arm around Jennifer Connelly's shoulders and standing up. Jennifer Connelly put her arm around Aaron's waist. The Oscars are coming up soon. Hollywood is at its busiest. Okay, we'll have a chance later. Tonight's the premiere of Pretty Woman. Come with me. After all, this movie was a matter of personal reputation. Warren Beatty seemed to have gotten over the scandal. Hollywood was far too open about these scandals. And Isabelle Adjani was nominated for Best Actress at this year's Oscars for her role in Rodin's Lover. It's coming out soon. You praise this movie so highly. Jennifer Connelly didn't drop out of Stanford University, so she paid less attention to Hollywood. Especially after Aaron Anderson left CAA, she no longer had a professional agent. Her one-year contract was almost up, and she had no plans to renew it. Moving on, coming. Chapter 52 Independent Production and Determining the Process. Pretty Woman opened in 1,350 theaters across North America, grossing $12 million in its first 3 days. Pretty Woman, a lightly romantic comedy drama love story, immediately captivated audiences and left a lasting impression. The film featured an intriguing romantic relationship between a millionaire and a street prostitute, and was perfectly cast by Al Pacino and Julia Roberts. Meanwhile, the 62nd Academy Awards were being held at the Los Angeles Music Center in downtown Los Angeles. That evening, at the Hilton Garden Inn on North Highland Boulevard in Hollywood, Aaron Anderson accompanied Jennifer Connelly to meet with producer John Hughes. The story is about a smooth-talking young man working in a department store who one night gets locked up in the store with the mayor's daughter, the town's most beautiful and wealthy daughter, John Hughes narrated, while Aaron flipped through the script for Spirit and Glory, his brow furrowing as he read. Aaron casually handed the script to Jennifer Connelly, who was standing beside him, and looked at John Hughes. It's indeed a youth film, but there are too many sexual innuendos in it. It's an R-rated film. It's completely based on Jennifer Connelly's figure and appearance. This is the screenwriter of Home Alone. It's not surprising that he wrote such a script. Children's and adolescent works are his strong points. John Hughes smiled and said, Aaron, this is a low-cost romantic comedy. It's from Universal. We have to consider the box office too. He was not surprised to see Jennifer Connelly and Aaron Anderson together. They were both young people. Besides, Jennifer Connelly hasn't had any works for a long time. Her popularity and influence are pitifully small. Aaron shook his head and declined, saying, Connelly needs to focus on her studies right now, and she's not suited for this type of work. While it wasn't as revealing as last year's Hot Spot, where Jennifer Connelly stripped down to her clothes, this one contained numerous suggestive scenes, making it a rather sterile R-rated romantic comedy. A small-time director with unknown actors, whose only drawcard was Jennifer Connelly's figure, Connelly returned the script. Mr. Hughes, I'll listen to Aaron. John Hughes remained unchanged. That's a shame. By the way, Aaron, congratulations. The predictions for Pretty Woman are excellent. Disney is reaping the rewards. Many people knew about Aaron Anderson's outburst in the CAA lobby last year. Warren Beatty and Isabelle Adjani's recent street scandal had severely damaged their respective reputations. Aaron smiled. We'll have to wait until summer when Dick Tracy comes out, After John Hughes left, Aaron smiled helplessly. See? Men these days are all after your figure. Jennifer Connelly sighed. I'm always getting scripts like this. Afterward, the two returned to their hotel room. The Oscars were still being broadcast live on TV, and the Best Supporting Actress award was being presented. Actress Julia Roberts was nominated for Steel Magnolias. Her popularity had skyrocketed with the release of Pretty Woman. Aaron hugged Jennifer Connelly from behind, feeling her 34D breasts, and stared at the TV. Do you think Julia Roberts is beautiful? Yes, she is. Very sexy, especially when she smiles, Jennifer Connelly replied. Don't you think her mouth is just too big? Actresses with big mouths are indeed attractive. The future Anne Hathaway was one of Aaron's favorites, but Julia Roberts? Well, a big mouth, isn't it sexier? Jennifer Connelly smiled, turned around, and kissed Aaron. Honey, we're going back to school tomorrow, right? Aaron undressed her, picked her up, and carried her into the bedroom. Yeah, what's so good about the Oscars? With the 62nd Academy Awards ceremony successfully concluded, Driving Miss Daisy won Best Picture, Best Actress, and Best Adapted Screenplay, becoming the biggest winner. Oliver Stone won Best Director for Born on the 4th of July, Daniel Day-Lewis won Best Actor for My Left Foot, Dead Poets Society won Best Original Screenplay. Cinema Paradiso won Best Foreign Language Film. Pretty Woman grossed another $13.5 million in its second weekend, bringing its 10-day total to $32 million. Phone Booth also surpassed $20 million in its 4-week run. Just after April Fool's Day, Aaron Anderson threw a celebration for Phone Booth at a Beverly Hills Wilshire Grand. Director David Fincher, lead actor Nicolas Cage, actor Adam Sandler, Nicole Kidman, Quentin Tarantino, and Jack Wells were all in attendance. Phone Booth was undoubtedly a success, considering Dawn Pictures spent $1.6 million on the film alone. According to critics, Phone Booth could easily gross $40 million. Why a celebration now? Nicole Kidman hugged Aaron and kissed him, a bit puzzled. I'm going to New York next. New Line's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just opened, a production I worked on, and I have to focus on preparing for Ghost, so I guess I'll be very busy. Edward Zwick and Bruce Robin had just traveled to Chicago to scout for a suitable location. They had no doubt that Dawn Pictures could independently produce this fantasy romance. Aaron actually didn't really want to accept funding from a big studio, because then he would have to convince them to let Nicole Kidman play the leading role. It's better to be an independent producer, just sign a distribution contract with a distributor, put in a part of the money himself, and use the distribution contract to get a bank loan for part of it. That way he can make his own decision on the movie, without so many problems. By the way, are there any distributors in Australia that can cooperate? You can look for them. I authorize you to sell the Australian distribution rights of Phone Booth. A price between $1.5 million and $2 million will be fine, and I will authorize you to sell the rights to theater screenings, videotapes, and TV broadcasts. Besides Europe, the international market that Aaron values most is Japan. The European distribution rights had already been sold when he raised funds before. This time in New York, Aaron plans to sell the Asian distribution rights to a Japanese company, and maybe he will have to fly to Japan himself. What about me? Nicole Kidman thought for a moment, then I have to go back to Australia. Chapter 53 Spring Blockbuster. Cheers. Aaron and the Phone Booth crew shared a drink. Later, Jack Wells and Adam Sandler were talking, and Jack Wells couldn't help but frown. Harry Emanuel, your former agent. Jack Wells patted the man on the shoulder. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Adam Sandler was now the legacy Aaron Anderson had left him. He trusted Aaron's vision, so he valued him highly. Furthermore, Adam Sandler's performance on Saturday Night Live was getting better and better. He was a capable writer and actor, all he needed was an opportunity. What's wrong? Aaron approached Jack Wells and asked. Jack Wells smiled. Nothing. Adam's former agent, Ari Emanuel, approached Adam Sandler. Besides, Ari Emanuel has already left Ida and become an independent agent. Jewish loyalty and friendship are truly lacking. Is that a threat? Ari Emanuel has 3 brothers. The eldest is a doctor, following in his father's footsteps. The second is a politician, and he's now in the entertainment industry. This family is Israeli immigrants with some connections to the Jewish mafia in Chicago, but they're nothing special these days. They're just ordinary middle-class people. Aaron had dug up the details when he was trying to recruit Adam Sandler. After all, Ari Emanuel was very optimistic about him. That's what you mean, right? Jack Wells patted Aaron's shoulder gently. Don't worry, I can handle it. Don't forget, I come from a family of bounty hunters. This is Los Angeles, not Chicago. After all, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, and so on are all crime capitals these days. So many shootings, murders, and robberies every year. If you were a millionaire or a multimillionaire, Jack Wells would be worried, but an ordinary middle-class person wouldn't be afraid at all. Aaron glared. You're not going to kill him, are you? Jack Wells shook his head. I'm not a serial killer. I'll just give him a beating when I get a chance. You know I like using a baseball bat, Aaron thought. That's right. This guy even wanted to beat up Warren Beatty, so what about a small-time character like Ari Emanuel? He leaned in closer and said, listen, let's do what we used to do. We'll get a few black people to do it at night, rob him, and beat him up. It'll be pitch black, no one will know. Aaron, don't you think it's more fun to do this yourself? You're stupid. What if that bastard pulls a gun out of his pocket? Better be careful. There are plenty of guns in South Central Los Angeles and Compton Street, and they're cheap. Weren't they poor before? Who would do things themselves now? Aaron had been an agent for a year, so while he didn't know much about upper-class society, he was well-versed in the underclass. Speaking of chaos, South Central and Compton were the worst, with black communities teeming with gangs. South Los Angeles was generally even more chaotic than downtown. West Los Angeles was affluent, but it also had its share of insecurity, like the Venice Beach neighborhood. Okay, got it. In a West Hollywood bedroom at night, Aaron Anderson let out a long breath from his bed. A moment later, Nicole Kidman, hidden beneath the covers, jumped out of bed and ran into the bathroom. After waiting for a while, Nicole Kidman came out of the bathroom and lay down next to Aaron. You drank so much tonight and you're still not quiet. Not much. I heard that the premiere of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was very good. With a box office of more than $25 million in the first 3 days of the weekend, Aaron smiled and stretched out his hand to rub Nicole Kidman's blonde hair. New Line arranged 2006 theaters to release it, and the opening box office was $25.4 million. It's really a successful comic-adapted action movie. You have to know that the production cost of this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was only $13.5 million. Nicole Kidman blinked. You have a good eye. The several movies you favored have all been successful. Ghost, is it the same? Well, you should prepare well. Kevin Costner is a good actor, and Ghost is also the film with the highest investment I have participated in. Aaron has already calculated that the filming funds for Ghost can be controlled within $18 million. To maintain control, Dawn Pictures needed to produce independently. They could pool their own resources and take out a bank loan, which should be enough. I understand. After I go back to Australia, I'll fully prepare for Ghost when I return to the US. Well, if you have any questions, just call me. During the spring season, with the Oscars taking place by Easter in mid-April, the Best Picture winner, Driving Miss Daisy, had grossed $90 million at the North American box office, on the verge of breaking $100 million. Another arthouse film, Born on the 4th of July, had only managed $70 million at the North American box office. However, two low-budget films released in March were a resounding success. The low-budget romantic comedy Pretty Woman, produced by Disney's Touchstone Pictures and distributed by Buena Vista, grossed $65 million at the North American box office. Another low-budget comic book action film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, produced by Golden Harvest and distributed by New Line, had already grossed $72 million despite opening 2 weeks later. When Aaron arrived in New York, Raymond Chow, head of Golden Harvest in Hong Kong, also came over to thank Aaron Anderson for proposing a tiered profit-sharing model last year. Golden Harvest would receive a 10% share of box office revenue above $50 million, and a 20% share above $100 million. Everyone knew Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would definitely break $100 million at the box office, which would have meant an additional $5 million in revenue for Golden Harvest. 20th Century Fox was the first to approach Golden Harvest, and seeing the current popularity of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one wonders what Joe Roth would think. However, Aaron Anderson now visited Sony Pictures Entertainment's New York office because Columbia TriStar International Pictures, a subsidiary of Sony, was interested in the Asian rights to phone booth. This meant Aaron didn't have to go to Japan. Soon after, Aaron met with Sidney Ganis, president of Columbia TriStar Motion Picture Group. Sony Pictures Entertainment's U.S. labels now include Sony, Columbia, and TriStar, all of which produce and distribute films. Sony Pictures International distributes its international business under the Columbia TriStar International Pictures label. Mr. Ganis, Aaron had come to discuss the Asian distribution rights for Phone Booth. Aaron, besides being in charge of Columbia TriStar International Pictures, I'm also the head of production for Columbia Pictures. Sidney Ganis smiled. I'm quite optimistic about your Ghost project. Chapter 54, Using the Issuance Contract to Obtain a Loan. Sidney Ganis, who also oversees the production department at Columbia Pictures, had his eye on Ghost. Aaron smiled and said, "Thank you. Actually, Su Guang is also very willing to work with Sony Columbia. Originally, Columbia and TriStar had already merged, but in recent years, the two companies had to release some films separately. Last year, Ghostbusters 2 and When Harry Met Sally were released by Columbia, while The Matrix and The Matrix were released by TriStar. This was due to internal competition within the group and the different film genres they focused on. Castle Rock, you know, the producers of When Harry Met Sally, have a distribution agreement with us at Sony, and so does Carlock. Well, I know, but let's talk about Phone Booth first." Sidney Ganis nodded. "How about a $3 million buyout for the Asian distribution rights?" Aaron blinked. Mr. Ganis should know that the North American box office for Phone Booth has reached $28 million, right? It's predicted to reach $40 million. Japan is the second largest market after North America, plus there are South Korea, Southeast Asia, and Hong Kong and Taiwan. Isn't $3 million too little? Now that it's released in North America, the reputation and box office have been proven, isn't it before filming? Aaron, you and I both know that the box office of Phone Booth won't reach $40 million, and it will probably only be $5 or $6 million in Asia. We still need to make a little money from the subsequent videotapes or TV broadcasts, and it will take time. Aaron shook his head. No, the current ratio between Hollywood and the international market is about 4:6, and this kind of movie will have a higher international box office. Asia will definitely make between $15 million and $20 million, so I think $5 million can be used to sell the Asian distribution rights. Sidney Ganis directly refused. That's impossible, Aaron, these are just your guesses. The North American box office of many movies is higher than the international market. Besides, the largest international box office is in Europe. In the end, after the two people's negotiation, Sidney Ganis was only willing to pay $3.5 million to acquire the Asian distribution rights. Okay, then, for this Ghost, if Dawn Pictures plans to produce it independently and hand it over to Sony Columbia for distribution, how much distribution commission do you plan to charge? Sony, Castle Rock, and Carlock all use this model, and so does Dawn. It's pretty good. We'll charge a 15% distribution commission in North America, and Dawn Pictures can get a 25% share of the international box office. Sony can advance the marketing costs and recoup them later. Aaron frowned. This was only slightly better than 20th Century Fox, which had conceded on international distribution. Mr. Ganis, you know that it was me who insisted that Disney develop Pretty Woman, right? Sidney Ganis smiled. Of course, many people know about your outbursts to Warren Beatty at that time, so, for me, a 15% distribution commission is too high. It's not high. Columbia is not those independent distributors. The distribution capabilities of the two are different. Aaron knocked on the table. You charge a 15% distribution commission for less than $50 million, 12% for between $50 million and $100 million, and 10% for more than $100 million, for international distribution. According to you, the production costs of the film are my own, and Sony has no risks except for some publicity and promotion costs. I don't believe that Castle Rock and Carlock will not need financing from Sony. I am now fully bearing all the risks myself. If Sony doesn't agree, I will put forward this condition to other film companies. I am sure there will be someone willing. Aaron had acquired Ghost a long time ago just to make a big hit, and it will take off directly after it is released next year. Sidney Ganis considered for a moment. Columbia TriStar needed influence. Ever since being acquired by Sony, facing the wealthy Japanese conglomerate, publicity was paramount. Sony's board of directors had spent $200 million to poach Batman producers Peter Guber and John Peters from Warner Brothers, using the proceeds to acquire the Two Shell Film Company. This move, Though incomprehensible to everyone, Sony went ahead and did it anyway. Now, sued by Time Warner for unfair competition, Sony, to appease the situation, gave Warner Bros. Half of Columbia's shares in the Warner Bros. Studio complex. Columbia Pictures Group had also been based in Burbank in the early days, and the current Warner Bros. Studio complex in Burbank was jointly established by Columbia and Warner Bros. After Coca-Cola acquired Columbia Pictures, it neglected the studio complex, and Warner Bros. Wanted to renovate it, so Coca-Cola simply moved Columbia Pictures Group from Burbank to its current Culver City studio complex. Okay, Columbia agrees to your terms? Sidney Guinness agreed. Peter Guber and John Peters, who currently ran Sony Pictures Entertainment, were two eccentrics. Michael Ovitz had advised against inviting them, but the success of Batman had blinded Sony. Sony was spending money like water these days, box office success was all that mattered, profitability was irrelevant. The Japanese consortium had plenty of money, and Sony could spend lavishly in Hollywood. Right decision. Aaron immediately stood up and extended his hand to shake Sidney Guinness's. The next day, after Daniel Williams in Los Angeles reviewed the faxed contract, Aaron Anderson, on behalf of Dawn Pictures, signed a distribution contract with Sony for Ghost. The Asian distribution rights for Phone Booth had sold for $3.5 million, and Aaron planned to use the Ghost distribution contract to obtain a bank loan. Despite the current stock market downturn, Wall Street's funding is actually quite abundant, and Hollywood's box office growth is also a reality. Wall Street investment banks and institutions have numerous film investment funds specifically targeting Hollywood. Aaron approached a film fund at Credit Suisse First Boston with the distribution contract for Ghost. Mr. Anderson, you're quite famous in Hollywood right now, aren't you? The fund manager specializes in Hollywood and has been mentioned several times in newspapers for Pretty Woman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not bad. Aaron took a sip of coffee. You guys have checked out the works I've handled before. The production budget of Ghost is $20 million. I want to use the distribution contract with Sony Columbia to borrow $15 million. Is that okay? The fund manager exhaled. Mr. Anderson wants to make this movie independently. Aaron clenched his fists. I like to be in control of my own work. The fund manager shook his head. Mr. Anderson is making a movie of this level for the first time. We can only provide a maximum loan of $12 million, 3-year term, 9% annual interest rate. As you know, banks are tightening and the economy is in recession. 9% is already considered low. The interest for 1 year would be $1.08 million. Aaron nodded. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, There's Money in the Account. Aaron, Village Roadshow Entertainment in Australia is willing to acquire the Australian distribution rights for Phone Booth, but they are only willing to pay $1.5 million. At the end of April, Aaron had already returned to Los Angeles when he received a call from Nicole Kidman in Australia. Promise them to come to the US as soon as possible. Ghost is about to start filming, Aaron said, a languid expression on his face as he sat in his office at Dawn Pictures. Okay, Nicole Kidman's voice was filled with excitement. After he hung up, Jessica Parker came in. Come on, 20th Century Fox is calling again. Aaron shook his head. Phone Booth has already made $31 million in North America. Even if it doesn't reach $40 million by the time it's released, it won't be much different. They think $7 million for video and TV rights is too much, and the film's already well received. Look how happy Polygram is making. The international box office has already exceeded $15 million, and Polygram only spent $1.6 million on the European rights. Oh, 20th Century Fox is only willing to pay $6 million. Aaron knocked on the table. He brought back $15.5 million from New York, plus Nicole Kidman was about to bring back $1.5 million, which added up to $17 million. The North American box office for Phone Booth hadn't been settled yet, and selling the video and television rights could bring in millions more. How about $6.5 million? Although 20th Century Fox has the right of first refusal, I believe other film companies are definitely willing to pay this price. If they still don't agree, we'll contact other companies. Also, Have 20th Century Fox settle the box office revenue as soon as possible. For amounts under $15 million, 20th Century Fox will charge a 20% distribution commission. The theater share of phone booth is half, and after deducting the commission, there is $4.5 million left. For amounts between $15 million and $30 million, 20th Century Fox will charge an 18% commission, and Dawn's profit will be $4.8 million. Of the first $30 million in box office revenue, Dawn Pictures only received $9.3 million. 20th Century Fox also spent $3 million on marketing and another $4 million on copy, management, shipping, and taxes. After deducting these expenses, Dawn Pictures' profit was only $2.3 million. The profit from the extra $30 million was estimated to be several million more. 20th Century Fox, how much of a ripoff have you ripped off me? Aaron cursed. How could he continue working with them? They were such a ripoff. If it weren't for the international distribution rights, videotapes, and television rights, he would have nearly lost money just on the North American box office. Within a few days, 20th Century Fox had transferred $8.8 million to Dawn Pictures' account, including a share of the $30 million box office revenue and fees for videotape and television rights. Adding $1.5 million in cash from Village Roadshow Entertainment Australia, Dawn Pictures now had $25.8 million in its bank account, more than enough to develop Ghost. Aaron specifically budgeted Ghost at $20 million, leaving $1 million for overruns to mitigate any potential problems. After all, it was his first high-budget production. By May, both Pretty Woman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had surpassed $100 million in box office revenue, clearly demonstrating the potential of Pretty Woman. New Line Cinema, as an independent distributor, saw its reputation soar, and Disney also saw Pretty Woman gain a significant advantage. Disney hosted a celebration for Pretty Woman at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. Not only did Pretty Woman surpass $100 million in North America, but it also boasted impressive international box office figures, having already grossed $150 million in just 3 weeks. Director Gary Marshall and leading actors Al Pacino and Julia Roberts were radiant, as was Walt Disney Studios chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg. This is a reward from Disney. Jeffrey Katzenberg handed Aaron Anderson a cashier's check for $500,000. Thank you. Aaron accepted it with ease. The publicity he'd created with Warren Beatty had certainly helped promote the film. Aaron, I heard you're developing a fantasy romance with a $20 million investment. Yes, it starts shooting next month. That's great. If you have any future projects, you can choose to submit them to Disney, Jeffrey Katzenberg said, glancing at Nicole Kidman beside Aaron. I won't bother you young people anymore. After Jeffrey Katzenberg left, Aaron handed the check directly to Nicole Kidman. Spend it. Nicole Kidman rolled her eyes at the man, but still took the check. After all, Aaron Anderson was now a multimillionaire. The crew has completed preparations and will start filming next month. The indoor scenes will be shot at the Sony Studios in Culver City, and the outdoor scenes will be shot in Chicago. During this time, you have to start rehearsing with the crew members. Aaron pinched Nicole's waist. Nicole Kidman nodded. Well, I know. I'm going to Cannes to attend the film festival in the middle and late part of the month. Wild at Heart has been shortlisted for the Palme d'Or in the main competition unit of Cannes. Then, she leaned forward and kissed Aaron on the face. Want to go together? Cannes is your lucky place. Aaron smiled. It made some sense. We'll see then. Afterwards, Aaron met Al Pacino again and chatted for a while. Is The Godfather 3 finished? It's just wrapped and in post-production. Paramount wants to schedule it for the Christmas season. Al Pacino smiled and patted Aaron on the shoulder. You're amazing. A movie shot with less than $2 million actually achieved such a high box office. Besides, this Pretty Woman is also a phenomenal work. I'm glad I listened to you. Aaron's mouth curled up. I'm really looking forward to the release of Dick Tracy next month. In Hollywood right now, fewer than 10 films break the $100 million mark at the North American box office each year. Both Pretty Woman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cost less than $15 million. It's a prime example of a small bucks for big wins strategy. And judging by the momentum Pretty Woman is showing, it's comparable to last year's blockbuster Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Aaron didn't see Disney CEO Michael Eisner at the Roosevelt Hotel celebration. He did see Disney Group President Frank Wells. Interesting, Aaron said, sensing a high level infighting within Disney. No one believed Dick Tracy could outperform Pretty Woman at the box office. With the fallout from Warren Beatty's scandal, Michael Eisner was probably just hoping to break even. And Pretty Woman, directed by Jeffrey Katzenberg, was a resounding success. As for Aaron Anderson's bet last year that Dick Tracy would make less than half as much as Pretty Woman, no one took it seriously, but now, this possibility is very high, which will make Warren Beatty even more embarrassed. Chapter 56 One per year. At the hotel entrance, Aaron ran into Julia Roberts and her boyfriend Kiefer Sutherland being interviewed by reporters. Last year, Meg Ryan. This year, Julia Roberts. Both became overnight stars. Aaron smiled, embracing Nicole Kidman. Next year, it's your turn. Nicole Kidman shook her head. It's probably going to be hard. I'm not American, so I can't have a hit movie like them. Besides, I won't be called a Hollywood sweetheart, will I? Go back, Nicole Kidman said, apparently keeping her composure. With a crew for Ghost assembled, financial personnel from Credit Suisse First Boston arrived to oversee the use of the $12 million. Edward Zwick also invited his former producers to join the cast. Rehearsals for Ghost were held at Sony Studios in Culver City. Screenwriters Bruce Robin and David Fincher were hired by Aaron as producers to assist him. David, aren't there any film companies or producers looking to direct a movie right now? Aaron was chatting with David Fincher in his office. He knew 20th Century Fox had already started production on Alien 3. He had the impression that David Fincher was the director. David Fincher shook his head. There's no specific script, and I'd like to wait until you finish filming Ghost before I consider it. Aaron smiled, stood up, and patted him on the shoulder. Phone Booth was a huge success. Your future is limitless. By mid-May, Phone Booth's box office had bottomed out at $34 million, and Su Guang had received a balance payment of over $600,000 from 20th Century Fox. However, since David Fincher and Nicolas Cage, despite their relatively low salaries, had given their performances so well, Aaron gave them each a $400,000 profit-sharing bonus as compensation. Sony Studios, on the soundstage, where the Ghost crew rehearsed. Kathy Bates, who plays the medium, is really good. Aaron and director Edward Zwick stood by, watching the rehearsal. The medium in Ghost is a crucial supporting role, and while I'd expected a black actor to play the role, these days, there's no such thing as a black actor playing a major role. Edward Zwick smiled. She spent the last 20 years in stage theater, winning a Tony Award for Best Actress. Now she's in the film industry, and just starred in Rob Reiner's 10 Days of Danger. Is it based on a Stephen King novel? Yes, I knew she was the one I wanted when she auditioned, said Edward Zwick, genuinely pleased. Rob Reiner is one of the founders of Castle Rock Entertainment and the director of When Harry Met Sally. He's also a huge Stephen King fan, and Castle Rock is a location in one of King's books. With the 1990 Cannes Film Festival underway, Nicole Kidman, after 2 weeks of rehearsals, was set to travel with a crew of Wild at Heart to Cannes to promote the film. One night in West Hollywood, lying on Aaron Anderson's bedroom bed, Nicole Kidman, her arm around Aaron Anderson, asked, "Are you really not going to Cannes? I'm too lazy to go. I don't have an agent right now, I don't have any films to participate in, and I don't need to buy films for distribution." Aaron exhaled and rolled off Nicole Kidman's body. Currently, promotional posters for Disney's comic book adaptation Dick Tracy, featuring exaggerated thug imagery, were plastered across major cities across the United States. Warren Beatty had been deeply offended by Aaron, and he was worried he might be plotting something against him. Besides the $20 million budget for Ghost, Dawn Pictures still had $5 million in cash available, which they needed to capitalize on. Well, not only is Wild at Heart nominated for the Palme d'Or, but Giuseppe Tornatore's The Trip is also up for grabs, Nicole Kidman reminded. I know that. If Giuseppe Tornatore needs me in the future, I'd be happy to work with him. The summer movie season has always been Hollywood's most fiercely competitive. This summer, 3 sequels, 48 Hours, Die Hard 2, and Back to the Future 3, were released. The newspapers are actually saying there are too many sequels these days. It would be great if 3 of the summer blockbusters weren't remakes or sequels. Original films carry far greater risk than sequels or remakes. Inside the Viper House Rock Bar on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, Jack Wells and Aaron Anderson clinked their beers. I've inquired around. Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman are both busy promoting the movie Dick Tracy. They probably don't have time to target us. The production budget of this movie is $47 million. With the publicity and promotion costs, the money spent is much more than Pretty Woman. If the box office isn't good, coupled with Warren Beatty's recent scandal, he can retire again, Aaron nodded. By the way, what happened to Ari Emanuel? Jack Wells smiled and leaned closer. The three black men were a bit heavy-handed. They stabbed him twice during the robbery. It seems his kidneys are damaged. Now, Ari Emanuel has left Los Angeles and returned to his hometown in Chicago. Aaron's expression changed several times. He didn't know whether he felt sorry for Ari Emanuel or was worried about the security in Los Angeles. By the way, I'm one of Kevin Costner's official agents now, so I don't have to work as a driver anymore. Aaron glanced at Jack Wells. You can just hang around for now. Just keep an eye out for some news for me. How can you be an agent? You're going to be the boss, I know. Security company? That's what I want. My family knows some good fighters and marksmen. I'm just waiting for your word. Don't worry, it'll be quick. Aaron patted the man on the shoulder. I'm going to the restroom. The dim lights, the blaring music, the air filled with the smell of marijuana, the couple hugging each other. Aaron was already accustomed to this kind of scene. After washing his face in the restroom and lighting a cigarette, he left. Just as he reached the hallway, a man, somewhat unsteady on his feet, collapsed on top of Aaron, looking dazed. Aaron instinctively reached for him, only to smell the strong odor of marijuana. He was high. Just as he was about to push him away in disgust, someone suddenly came over and called out, Aaron, this is River, he's a little drunk. Depp. Aaron saw the person coming. It was Johnny Depp. Chapter 57, Private Life is a Mess. Aaron, this is River Phoenix. He's about your age, so you should be familiar with him. You used to be an agent at CAA. Yes, the person Aaron had just helped was River Phoenix, a Hollywood child star who had gained some fame in the art world a few years ago with Stand By Me, directed by Rob Reiner and adapted from a Stephen King novel. Of course I know, Aaron said, clinking glasses with a few people. This is Jack Wells, still an agent at CAA. Excuse me just now. River Phoenix smiled at Aaron and apologized. It's okay. Aaron saw that River Phoenix and Johnny Depp had a good relationship. They were both two big names. By the way, that movie you produced, Phone Booth, was fantastic. Cage's performance was simply amazing. River Phoenix was currently just a small-time actor in the art world, with a lot of work under his belt, but none of it made a splash. Thank you. Aaron looked at River Phoenix and couldn't help but remind him, your acting is good, but isn't this lifestyle too crazy? He was so high that he couldn't stand. He seemed even more crazy than Depp. After all, as a teen idol, Johnny Depp maintained a good image as an actor outside. Of course, as one of Hollywood's top handsome guys, Johnny Depp had a huge advantage in appearance. River Phoenix took a sip of wine. For some roles, I need this to get into the state, Jack Wells reminded him. River has appeared in many art films. Don't worry, Aaron, this kind of life is normal for us, Johnny Depp said, taking a sip of whiskey. Aaron was too lazy to worry about it and looked at Johnny Depp. When will your film Edward Scissorhands be released? 20th Century Fox has it scheduled for Christmas, so it won't be released soon. Johnny Depp had starred in a film, Cry Baby, which came out the previous month but didn't receive much attention. Edward Scissorhands was his second starring role since moving from television to film, and he took it very seriously. After a few more drinks, the four of them, Aaron Anderson and Jack Wells, left first. These actors, being rock musicians, have three things they can't live without: women, alcohol, and drugs. Each one's private life is more chaotic than the other. Jack Wells chatted with Aaron while driving. There's something in the car. Do you want to try it? Aaron rolled his eyes. Do you also want to see me imitate my father, drive to the Golden Gate Bridge and jump off? So far, there's not even a body. Jack Wells touched his nose awkwardly. You really haven't found it. How can I find it? It's the Pacific Ocean. Besides, Aaron had no feelings for old Anderson, so forget it. Gamblers and drug addicts can't be trusted. Hollywood has no morals or laws, let alone these two types of people. Jennifer Connelly arrived in Southern California for summer vacation, bringing a script with her to ask Aaron's opinion. West Hollywood. The Rocketeer? Another Disney comic book adaptation, and a superhero one at that. Aaron sat on the sofa, casually flipping through the script Jennifer Connelly had brought. The story isn't like Dick Tracy. This is probably Disney doing to sell merchandise and toys. Warner Bros.'s Batman was a runaway success, spawning a slew of merchandise. Everyone knows it's making a killing. Jennifer Connelly slid into Aaron's arms, wrapping her arms around his neck, and reminded him, "So, the initial budget for The Rocketeer is $25 million. It's quite high," Aaron smiled. "With that budget, a movie like this can't afford big stars. And even though you're the lead, you don't have a lot of screen time. This is primarily an action movie, and you're kind of just a little bitch. It's a pure commercial." Aaron, however, didn't seem impressed by the film. It was probably going to flop. "Summer vacation is long. I think it's fine. ICM agency wants to sign me. This is what they've got for me." Jennifer Connelly's contract with CAA had expired and wasn't renewed. After all, she was just a minor character now, so why would CAA pay attention to her? Okay, it's a commercial film after all, and a $25 million budget isn't bad. It should boost your profile. Aaron didn't have any objections. After all, commercial film roles aren't easy to come by, and the competition for attractive roles is fierce. However, Jennifer Connelly has the right figure and looks, and the capital is quite strong. Well, The Rocketeer has been in the works for 2 or 3 years, and it's only now officially in production. Disney plans to make a trilogy, and we've signed a 3-film contract. Next, I'm going to go to makeup trials, rehearsals, and wait for the crew to start filming. A trilogy, Aaron smiled. If the first film doesn't do well at the box office, the subsequent ones will naturally be cancelled. By the way, Family Trip, directed by Giuseppe Tornatore, is going to the Cannes Film Festival. Don't you need to help promote it? Jennifer Connelly shook her head. My role isn't that big. Family Trip will be at the Toronto Film Festival in September, and I'll be there. The North American distributor for Family Trip, the art house company Heritage Entertainment, didn't take it seriously. That evening, at the Beverly Hills Wilshire Grand, Aaron met with Michael Kuhn, the head of Polygram Films. Phone Booth had grossed nearly $20 million in Europe, much to the delight of Polygram Films. "Aaron, doesn't Dawn Pictures have any small projects in the works right now? We at Polygram are fully committed to supporting you." "Fully committed?" Aaron smiled. "Million-dollar projects, mostly independent art films, are hard to come by. Dawn Pictures was primarily focused on making money. Awards weren't a priority." Michael Kuhn knew that the best projects in the United States were generally controlled by a few major studios, with slightly better ones also having secondary distributors. Foreign film companies entered Hollywood either as financiers or to participate in independent productions. If a foreign film company's heavily invested commercial film suffered a loss, the consequences would be unbearable. Michael Kuhn took a sip of wine and said, "But there are also good projects in independent films. You know this best. Although Polygram's main business is records, I can make independent decisions on film projects with a production budget of less than $10 million US." Aaron frowned. $10 million US? Chapter 58. I don't like packing. In Burbank, Los Angeles, Thomas Gray, general manager of Golden Harvest's U.S. branch, visited Aaron Anderson at the offices of Dawn Pictures. Due to the success of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Golden Harvest and New Line Studios were already planning a sequel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Reborn, with a budget nearly doubled to $25 million. The release date had already been set, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Reborn would be released next spring. At noon, after Aaron and Jennifer Connelly had lunch, they passed by Warner Brothers Studios and noticed a crowd of luxury cars and reporters. "What's going on?" Jennifer Connelly asked, puzzled from the passenger seat. "You haven't been watching the news?" Aaron said, stopping the car and getting out. Warner Brothers was celebrating its acquisition of the studio's stake from Columbia. Time Warner chairman and co-CEO Steve Ross threw a whopping $3 million to have Steven Spielberg plan a grand ball. They invited 300 to 400 top celebrities to the banquet on the Warner Brothers studio lot. It was lavish, sophisticated, and eccentric. Aaron leaned against the car. Lotus sales had skyrocketed thanks to Al Pacino's Lotus sports car and Pretty Woman. "I see. It was quite a grand occasion." Jennifer Connelly took in the guests. They must have been all big names from various walks of life. Aaron hugged Jennifer Connelly, kissed her on the cheek, and said with a smile, "Hollywood moves fast. Newcomers always replace the old. The era of people like Steve Ross and Lew Wasserman is almost over." It was clearly Time Incorporated that acquired Warner Communications, but it was Warner Communications' Steve Ross who triumphed over Time Incorporated's N. J. Nicholas in the power struggle to become chairman, wielding the greatest power. Former Time Incorporated president Gerald Levine also sided with Steve Ross, becoming his confidant and vice chairman. Gerald Levine had long managed Time Incorporated's HBO network, Time Incorporated's most profitable business, and his importance was self-evident. Now, Steve Ross was ill and in poor health. Meanwhile, Panasonic was acquiring Universal's parent company, MCA Group, managed by Lew Wasserman. Aaron now truly understood why Liu Bang, upon witnessing the grand procession of the first Emperor's Tour, had exclaimed, "A true man ought to be like this, let's go." Jennifer Connelly reminded him with a smile. Yes, Aaron Anderson was about to accompany Jennifer Connelly to ICM to sign a management contract. ICM is a formidable force these days, boasting stars like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mel Gibson, and Eddie Murphy. ICM was originally a subsidiary of the publicly listed Josephson International Corporation, formed in 1975 by Marvin Josephson through the merger of two agencies, CMA, Creative Management Associates, and IFA, internationally famous companies. However, the company was privatized 2 years ago by Marvin Josephson and several senior partners. Marvin Josephson is the majority shareholder, but he's not in the management business. Senior partner Jeffrey Berg is currently the president of ICM. However, Marvin Josephson's daughter, Nancy Josephson, works at ICM as an agent. Nancy Josephson, upon spotting Aaron Anderson accompanying Jennifer Connelly at ICM, invited him to her office. "Hello, Mr. Anderson, I'm Nancy Josephson." "Hello." Aaron almost guessed the other party's identity when he heard the last name. "Just call me Aaron, can I call you Nancy?" "Of course." Nancy Josephson smiled. Connery is actually a good actor, but she lacks some acting experience. Aaron took a sip of coffee. "Her acting is still relatively immature, which is why I suggested that she continue to stay in school for further studies. If she becomes a sexy vase and becomes a type actor, her future path will be narrow." Nancy Josephson was a little puzzled. Then Aaron, "Are you optimistic about the Rocketeer this time?" Aaron looked at Nancy Josephson. Given Connery's current situation, if she refuses a script like The Rocketeer, then she probably won't get any roles in the next few years and will have to wait until graduation. Aaron spread his hands. It's obvious that Connery doesn't plan to play roles after graduation. Nancy Josephson shook her head. "You are too modest, Aaron. The success of Sex, Lies, and Videotape and Phone Booth is enough to prove your vision. Also, Wild at Heart, which is currently screening in Cannes, has received high praise, and the leading actress Nicole Kidman will also be in your new movie Ghost." How could Nancy Josephson, an entertainment lawyer by training, not understand Aaron's relationship with the other party? Pretty Woman has already grossed $120 million in North America, and Julia Roberts has become an overnight star. We really have you to thank for that. If Aaron hadn't directly provoked the conflict between Pretty Woman and Dick Tracy while at CAA last year, Julia Roberts wouldn't have followed her agent to join ICM? Thank me, there's no need for that. Julia Roberts herself has good conditions, and she knows how to seize opportunities. It's normal for her to become a hit after encountering a project like Pretty Woman. Aaron looked at the other party. "You asked me into the office not just to talk about these things, right?" Nancy Josephson smiled. "Of course not. Aaron, the first movie you made after leaving CAA, Phone Booth, was a commercial success. You are now preparing for your second work, but this way, you won't have many works every year. You know, ICM also has packaged projects every year. Don't you think we can cooperate? The projects of Dawn Pictures can be handed over to ICM to help operate. We will find distributors to invest for you, and we will never interfere in the production field." Aaron was a little amused. "If we don't interfere in the production field, you must use ICM's directors and actors. Is that what you mean?" Nancy Josephson shrugged. "ICM also has to get its own rewards. In addition to your own projects, you can also develop projects within ICM that you are optimistic about, and we will support you." Aaron shook his head. "I don't really like packaging projects. What a movie needs are the right people. Besides, I think that Dawn's project is attractive to film companies, and there is no need to add another link in the middle. We just need to maintain cooperation on the actors." "Well, you can think about it first." Nancy Josephson did not expect to convince the other party in one go. After all, producers are not like directors and actors. Many producers have not joined an agency, but only maintain a certain cooperative relationship. Chapter 59 Radical Action. ICM wanted to collaborate. After all, Aaron had excellent vision. However, Aaron was somewhat apathetic about a package deal. He wanted to develop his film company, not settle for being an independent producer. Rather than working with an agency, he preferred signing a production contract with a studio. Furthermore, Aaron wasn't like Steven Spielberg, who could freely attach his name to films. Spielberg produced multiple films annually, crediting many duds as a producer. Furthermore, Spielberg had never signed with an agency, and Michael Ovitz of CAA had long wanted to sign him to CAA. Since the 1980s, Spielberg had only worked for Universal and Warner Brothers, so if he actually joined CAA, he would definitely change his mind. After Jennifer Connelly signed her contract with ICM, the two left. Nancy Josephson came to the office of ICM President Jeffrey Berg. "Uncle Berg, I talked to Aaron Anderson, and he seems to have some resistance to the agency's packaging system." Jeffrey Berg smiled. "Resistance? Although he is young, he is very ambitious. The current Ghost is an independent production of his Dawn Pictures. He bought the script when he was still at CAA." Nancy Josephson was surprised. That is, after Aaron left CAA, he first made a low-cost phone booth and achieved commercial success, and then he used the money he earned to directly develop Ghost. He is really brave and his actions are radical enough. "Yes, radical," Jeffrey Berg nodded. "When he was an agent at CAA, he rarely managed artists, and he focused on the business of buying and selling movies. His ability is indeed good. New directors like Steven Soderbergh and David Fincher are all favored by him." Nancy Josephson smiled. "Is Uncle Berg very optimistic about Aaron Anderson?" Jeffrey Berg spread his hands. "From the earliest Sex, Lies, and Videotape and Cinema Paradiso to the hits Pretty Woman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they are all related to him. Now, Phone Booth, which he produced himself, has also achieved commercial success. It is his own idea. Do you think these are coincidences?" Jeffrey Berg shook his head. "Last year, who is he? He dared to confront Warren Beatty face to face. It can be said that he was gambling with his career future. This is extreme self-confidence. The result, you see, the global box office of Pretty Woman exceeded $300 million last week. According to predictions, the box office of Pretty Woman is at least $400 million. As for Dick Tracy, even if there was no Warren Beatty scandal some time ago, how much box office could this movie have? Who would be optimistic that it would get a box office of $200 million? Jeffrey Berg's point was clear. With a phenomenal performance of Pretty Woman, Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy had no chance of winning. Yet, no wonder he dislikes the agency's package system. Al Pacino was persuaded by him to give up his role in Dick Tracy and take this one, Nancy Josephson said, laughing. CAA is in for a rough patch. They've lost a future golden producer, America's sweetheart. It's also caused the reputation of longtime client Warren Beatty to plummet, becoming a stepping stone for Aaron Anderson's rise. Ever since Pretty Woman performed so well, the story of the bet between Aaron Anderson and Warren Beatty has been brought up again. That's how Hollywood works. If you perform well, they'll support you. If you don't, they'll step on you. The competition between CAA and ICM is quite fierce right now. Jeffrey Berg sighed inwardly in his chair. ICM can't compare to CAA. Michael Ovitz is currently leading the CAA team in assisting Panasonic with its acquisition of MCA Group. Having just participated in Sony's acquisition of Columbia TriStar last year, and this year leading Panasonic's acquisition of Universal Pictures, this has significantly boosted both CAA and Michael Ovitz's profile. With Jennifer Connelly joining Disney's new film, The Rocketeer, Aaron has once again visited the Disney studios in Burbank. The Rocketeer's director, Joe Johnston, made his directorial debut last year with the hit Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, while the lead actors, Billy Campbell and Jennifer Connelly, are relatively unknown. Timothy Dalton, who has played James Bond in 2 previous films, has a supporting role. Aaron, are you interested in developing a film exclusively for Disney? Disney is willing to acquire a majority stake in Dawn Pictures at a high price. You will still be in charge of Dawn Pictures. What do you think? Aaron had barely taken his seat in Jeffrey Katzenberg's office when he heard the question. You know, Aaron, Disney established Touchstone Pictures and Hollywood Pictures, which are specifically for creating works for adults. Aaron smiled. Katzenberg, does he mean that he wants me to stay and serve Disney? Don't you want to join? With Disney's support, you can be the producer of several films at the same time. Aaron shook his head and said helplessly, Mr. Katzenberg, I like your frankness very much, but I'm used to being free and easy. If I want to sign an exclusive cooperation agreement with Disney, I don't think it is suitable for the current Dawn Pictures. Jeffrey Katzenberg's face was still as calm as ever. With Disney's support, when you develop movies in the future, you don't have to worry about the filming funds, publicity and marketing, and distribution channels. Now you have seen Disney's achievements in live-action movies. It's very good. Jeffrey Katzenberg hadn't previously paid much attention to Aaron Anderson. After all, a film like Sex, Lies, and Videotape wasn't enough. However, with the releases of Phone Booth and Pretty Woman this year, Jeffrey Katzenberg began to regret his decision. Aaron Anderson did have some talent. Dawn Pictures was seeking distribution from Sony Columbia for the fantasy romance Ghost, a script that Anderson had previously sent to 10th Year, but had overlooked. Mr. Katzenberg, you know, I'm about to fully commit to filming Ghost, so it's a bit early to discuss a partnership now. Chapter 60 The Current Unknown. The three major Hollywood agencies, ICM, CAA, and WMA, now all have their own packaging services. For many film studios, packaging services can solve numerous problems and save time, but they also create headaches for them, as they use directors and actors as bargaining chips to demand exorbitant fees from the studios. They collude with prominent directors and stars to demand a cut of the profits, indirectly interfering in film productions. The studios have a love-hate relationship with the packaging system. Because the agencies have extensive resources, they can quickly provide complete projects to the studios, allowing them to maintain a steady supply of films to theaters. CAA's Michael Ovitz, in particular, is known for his greed and overbearing approach, mastering the packaging service to perfection. That evening, at a beach bar near Santa Monica Pier, Aaron Anderson and Jennifer Connelly drank tequila and enjoyed a performance. Watching the black rap performance, Aaron shook his head. The West Coast's gangsta rap scene is booming, rivaling even New York. By the way, Connelly, how's the restoration work going at Stanford University? Aaron asked. Almost done. Most of the damaged buildings have been repaired, only a small part remains. Aaron nodded, wondering if he should donate some to Stanford University? Perhaps to pave the way for his descendants? Never mind, it was too early. Let's go dancing, Aaron, Jennifer Connelly said, perhaps excited about landing the role in The Rocketeer. Yes, Aaron stood up, hugging the voluptuous Jennifer Connelly and heading to the dance floor. In the atmosphere of alcohol and hormones, the two quickly embraced and kissed passionately, feeling each other's bodies. Bang! Aaron, hugging Jennifer Connelly, was bumped by someone else, also a young couple hugging each other. Sorry, I'm so happy today. Let me buy you a drink. Before Aaron could lose his temper, he was greeted by a beaming smile, incredibly handsome, and undisguised joy. Aaron was stunned for a moment, then took a closer look. Brad Pitt. Okay, let's go over there for a drink, Aaron said, arm around Jennifer Connelly, and they left the dance floor. It was Brad Pitt and his girlfriend, Juliette Lewis. Ah, it's Jennifer Connelly. Are you the filmmaker Aaron Anderson? Jennifer Connelly debuted as a child star, and many people knew her, especially those in the entertainment industry. Aaron Anderson looked at Brad Pitt's girlfriend. I know you. You're Juliette Lewis. How do you know me? Juliette Lewis, herself a child star, was undoubtedly more famous than Brad Pitt is now. You were a celebrity at CAA last year, Juliette Lewis smiled. This is my boyfriend, Brad Pitt. He's also an actor. He previously starred in the thriller comedy School of No Return. Well, Brad Pitt might be 27 now, but he's still a nobody. Hello, Pete, just call me Aaron. As for Connery, you know him too. Aaron looked at the two of them. Juliette Lewis was only 17 years old, 10 years younger than Pete. Aaron, nice to meet you. I've seen news about you recently. The movie Phone Booth is really cool. Aaron smiled, looked at Brad Pitt and asked, you seem very happy. Did you get a good script? Brad Pitt was very excited today and was looking for someone to tell his joy. Yes, I went to the crew of director Ridley Scott for an audition today, and got a small supporting role in it. I auditioned for this role after several rounds of auditions and defeated many competitors. Aaron heard, Ridley Scott's work is Thelma and Louise, right, it's in the news. Ridley Scott was only planning to be a producer, and the two leading actresses were Jodie Foster and Michelle Pfeiffer. It's a pity that they didn't find a suitable director. Jodie Foster went to shoot The Silence of the Lambs, and Michelle Pfeiffer also took on other scripts. Now the two leading actors are Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon. Right, Brad Pitt nodded. Thelma and Louise is a film Ridley Scott had been working on since last year. Aaron, are you following this film too? Yeah, the script is pretty good. It's very feminist, with Western and road trip elements. Plus, Ridley Scott is directing it himself, so it's a very well-known project in the independent film world, Aaron said, patting Brad Pitt on the shoulder. You're lucky to be in this role. Cherish the opportunity. We'll go back first. Maybe we'll have another chance to work together in the future. Aaron then left a bar with Jennifer Connelly. He's so young. He's already earned over $10 million at the age of 20. That's amazing. After Aaron Anderson and the others left, Brad Pitt looked envious. He's really impressive. Last year, he said in front of a lot of people at CAA that Dick Tracy wouldn't make half as much as Pretty Woman. At the time, everyone thought he was crazy. Juliette Lewis shrugged. Now, he's proven he's not crazy but a genius. Brad Pitt was puzzled. Then why did he leave CAA? If he had stayed, his position would surely be extraordinary. In CAA, besides the 3 shareholders, who else can earn millions or even tens of millions of dollars a year? That's right, Brad Pitt laughed. Never mind. Next, I'll just focus on playing the thief in Thelma and Louise. Brad Pitt's competition for the role was formidable, especially George Clooney, who had been left in the final round with him. He was both physically and visually impressive, and though he was only 2 years older, his overly mature appearance was a bit out of place pretending to be a college student. At that moment, in the parking lot near the bar, Aaron was hugging Jennifer Connelly in the car, kissing her passionately. Honey, let's go home first. Aaron leaned back in his chair, breathing rapidly. Jennifer Connelly, dressed in dishevel, was posing, her voluptuous 34D breasts incredibly tempting. Well, Aaron kissed Jennifer Connelly on the lips. Is The Rocketeer filmed in California? Jennifer Connelly nodded. Most of the exterior scenes are in California, and quite a few scenes are shot in Los Angeles. If you miss me, you can come to the set to find me anytime. Chapter 61 Black Community Film. Early in the morning, in Aaron's apartment in West Hollywood, Jennifer Connelly lay languidly in Aaron's arms on the bedroom bed. You seem very optimistic about Ridley Scott's Thelma and Louise. Aaron stroked her back. Right now, works about women's rights, racial discrimination, and homosexuality are all very valued in the independent film industry. It's easy to win the favor of film critics. The great director Ridley Scott had a few years of lows, but last year's crime action film Black Rain was quite successful and can be considered a resurgence. The 2 leading actresses, Gina Davis won the Best Supporting Actress Oscar last year, and Susan Sarandon is also a well-known actress nominated for Best Actress. With a good script, a famous director, and a talented cast, Thelma and Louise has received considerable attention. Jennifer Connelly smiled and kissed Aaron on the lips. So, besides developing Ghost, will you have any other scripts coming up? Of course, if we come across the right script, Dawn will support it. Dawn currently had $5 million in cash in its account. Okay, get up, Aaron said, patting the sexy Jennifer Connelly. Soon, the 2 arrived at Dawn Pictures in Burbank. Aaron, it seems the company has received quite a few project applications. Jennifer Connelly entered Aaron's office, clutching a script idea that had been mailed in. Yes, a lot of new directors are mailing in projects these days, and the company's staff will review them and send them to me, Aaron said as he began to flip through the scripts. In the afternoon, Aaron discovered a script about a crime film set in a black neighborhood called Boys on the Hood. Director John Singleton, a 22-year-old black student who just graduated from the USC directing program this year, adapted the script from the song of the same name by Compton rapper Eazy-E. Connelly, have someone call this young man named John Singleton and tell him that Dawn Pictures is interested in his film, Boys of the Hood. Oh, sure, Los Angeles's chaotic and impoverished black neighborhoods are rife with gang violence, drug crimes, and other activities. Okay, he'll come to Dawn Pictures tomorrow to discuss the details. Shortly after, Jennifer Connelly returned to Aaron's office. Is it about black gang members? Yes, Aaron smiled, pulling Jennifer Connelly into his lap. This kind of story reflects the current black communities in cities. It's very realistic. Speaking of black directors, Aaron's impression of Spike Lee is that he's the most representative. Last year, the film Do the Right Thing, written and directed by Spike Lee, was nominated for Best Original Screenplay at the 62nd Academy Awards. The next day, Aaron met John Singleton at the Dawning office. Your script, Boys and the Hood, doesn't feature many scenes of racial division. It focuses on the disturbing life in the black ghetto, drawing the audience's attention to the various issues facing growing up black youth, such as broken families, racial discrimination, community crime, and juvenile parenting. Moreover, the film explores the possibility of changing fate, expressing strong expectations for changing the lives of young people in the Black community. Very educational. John Singleton's eyes lit up. Will Dawning invest? I've been working on this script since college. All the ideas are in my head, a new director, and a Black man. John Singleton's desire for opportunity was overwhelming. Aaron looked at him and knocked on the table. New director, new actors, a violent crime film set in the Black community. Don is willing to invest, but the budget will be very low. John Singleton's eyes widened, his dark skin gleaming. I plan to film it in a South Los Angeles neighborhood. There won't be much set construction. As for the actors, we can cast some cheap Black actors. It won't be a problem. How about this? Go back and give me a complete plan, and Don will formulate a budget for the film. Don has bought your script. Okay, I'll definitely prepare a complete plan soon. After John Singleton presented the plan for Boys and the Hood, Dawn Pictures also paid for the script and prepared a production budget of no more than $5 million. In the Compton neighborhood of Los Angeles, Jack Wells accompanied Aaron and John Singleton as they scouted for a filming location. John, are you sure you want to film here? Aaron was undoubtedly a little worried. After all, Compton was home to so many gang members. Aaron, some of the exterior scenes are here. My primary filming location is the Crenshaw neighborhood, John Singleton continued, explaining, I'm still casting the lead actor, but I've already approached the other actors. Ice Cube will play a key role. He's a big name in this area, and he can handle a lot of things. Ice Cube, Jack Wells asked in surprise, one of the former members of NWA, right? Ice Cube teamed up with Dr. Dre and Eazy-E in 1987 to form NWA, representing the rise of West Coast rap music. Unfortunately, Ice Cube left NWA in 1989 due to financial disputes and began a solo career. And Boys on the Hood was originally an Eazy-E song. Yes, Ice Cube is very supportive of my script. John Singleton smiled. A young Black lead actor is definitely a challenge. Any ideas? Aaron looked at John Singleton. Any ideas for the lead actor? We're still auditioning. I'm sure we'll find someone suitable soon. Aaron nodded. This was a film about Black people, so he didn't have many suggestions on who to cast. Denzel Washington was a good choice, but he'd just won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor and was too old to be a good fit. John, keep an eye on the budget. Dawn Pictures is just a small, newly established company, and we don't have a lot of money. If we go over budget, it'll be very troublesome. Aaron was worried that the new director wouldn't stick to the budget. John Singleton nodded seriously. Don't worry, Aaron, I won't do anything rash. We should all be grateful that you support a film like this. Many filmmakers have offered to help, which can save us some money. That evening, after Jack Wells and Aaron left. Aaron, does this kind of movie have commercial value? Aaron smiled and said, don't worry, it does. Trust my vision. I've already sent this project to Sony Columbia. They're interested in distributing it. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, Ghost Love. The Boys and the Hood project caught the eye of Sidney Ganis, president of Columbia TriStar Pictures. Columbia TriStar was willing to purchase the film's international distribution rights for $3.5 million, with a 15% commission on North American distribution. Aaron readily accepted, noting that a film about the Black community in Taiwan would not be a big box office hit abroad. He would then focus on the North American market once the film was released. At the closing ceremony of the 43rd Cannes International Film Festival in late May, David Lynch's drama Wild at Heart won the Palme d'Or. However, Aaron discovered that a Chinese-language film, Judao, had won the first Louis Buñuel Special Award at the Cannes Film Festival. However, that didn't matter anymore, as Dawn Pictures' Ghost was about to begin filming. Even with Boys and the Hood in pre-production, Aaron's mind was on Ghost. Director Edward Zwick, along with leading actors Kevin Costner and Nicole Kidman, attended the film's launch event at the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel. Aaron, Kevin has taken on another political thriller, JFK. He'll probably be joining the crew after filming Ghost is finished. Jack Wells found Aaron and told him the news. It's written and directed by Oscar-winning director Oliver Stone. Aaron nodded. Of course, he didn't care. As long as he could finish filming Ghost well, that was all that mattered. Didn't you say earlier that Kevin Costner was going to star in the action film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, directed by Kevin Reynolds? Aaron asked. Why was it JFK again? Jack Wells then explained, if Kevin hadn't taken Ghost, he would have filmed Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, before JFK. Robin Hood's release date is next summer, but we can't wait for Kevin Costner. Aaron waved his hand. Don't worry, just keep an eye on John Singleton's preparations for Boys and the Hood these days. Ghost will be filming on set in Chicago first, with exterior shots in New York and studio scenes in Los Angeles. I have a lot on my plate, Jack Wells smiled. Don't worry, we know Los Angeles best. As Jennifer Connelly reported to the set of Disney's The Rocketeer, the crew of Ghost also headed to Chicago. With a financial injection from Dawn Pictures, preparations for Boys and the Hood began to accelerate. Chicago, located on the southwest shore of Lake Michigan, has a pleasant June climate, perfect for filming. The central story of Ghost follows Sam, a bank clerk played by Kevin Costner, and Mellie, a ceramic artist played by Nicole Kidman. With the enthusiastic help of their friend Carl, they move into a beautiful apartment and fall deeply in love. As they prepare for their wedding, they are robbed while returning from a theater. Sam tragically dies in the fight with the attackers, and transforms into Ghost. Seeing Mellie grieving, he chooses to stay with her. As a ghost, Sam discovers the criminals have infiltrated their home and seeks out a psychic to inform Mellie. Later, Sam stumbles upon his friend Carl as the mastermind behind his murder. At the Intercontinental Hotel on North Michigan Avenue, Aaron finishes a phone call with Los Angeles and sees Nicole Kidman emerging from the shower. What happened in Los Angeles? Nicole Kidman asks, her figure half revealed beneath a sensual silk camisole. Aaron shook his head and smiled. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles grossed $130 million. And Golden Harvest in Hong Kong made $11 million in profit. CAA gave me an $800,000 bonus. Aaron now had $1.3 million in cash in his personal account, and $3.5 million in Dawn's. $130 million, Nicole Kidman's eyes widened. What about Pretty Woman? How much is it? Aaron hugged Nicole Kidman. It's now $150 million in North America and $250 million overseas. Nicole Kidman kissed Aaron on the cheek several times. You're smiling, so there must be some other good news, right? Well, Dick Tracy opened in 2008 theaters and took in $12 million in its first 3 days, and the movie wasn't very well received, with a lot of negative reviews. Warren Beatty was undoubtedly affected by the previous scandal. So, the goal for Dick Tracy is to gross over $100 million worldwide, which probably won't even reach half of Pretty Woman. Nicole Kidman and Aaron joined the bed, actively displaying her Australian charm. Half? Probably not even a third. Well, then, are you going back to Los Angeles? Nicole Kidman embraced Aaron and kissed him. How's the prep work for Boys and the Hood going? Aaron closed his eyes, feeling Nicole Kidman's gentle embrace. Prep work for Boys and the Hood isn't going very fast. I do need to go back. I've been here for 3 weeks now, and in 2 more weeks I'll be in New York shooting exteriors, as well as scenes on the Sony Studios soundstage. In late June, Aaron returned to Los Angeles from the Chicago filming location. Cuba Gooding Jr., 22 years old, has played roles in several TV shows, and is a Hollywood newcomer. This was the young black actor-director John Singleton was looking for Boys and the Hood. How did the audition go? Aaron asked John Singleton, sitting in his office chair and flipping through the materials in his hand. It went very well. I had a great time working with Ice Cube and Lawrence Fishburne. John Singleton was excited because he was about to shoot his first feature film. Put together the crew as soon as possible. I'll have people assist you. This is your first time directing a film, so don't compromise the quality of the film just to rush it. You can have a few more rehearsals. Aaron's meaning was clear. You could take your time shooting this film. Rehearsals meant not wasting film and money. John Singleton nodded. Shooting starts in August, and the estimated filming time is 6 to 8 weeks. After all, Aaron's budget for Boys and the Hood was no more than $5 million, so John Singleton needed to be as frugal as possible. That evening, at a bar in West Hollywood, Aaron met with Michael Kuhn of Polygram Films. Chapter 63 Two Strong Men. Steven Soderbergh and David Lynch have both won the Palme d'Or at Cannes for 2 consecutive years with American independent films. Michael Kuhn clinked glasses with Aaron, smiling. David Lynch's Wild at Heart was primarily funded by Polygram. Independent films seem to have great potential, Aaron said calmly. Does Polygram want to add some independent film projects? There are quite a few independent filmmakers in Hollywood, so you can give it your all. Michael Kuhn took a sip of his wine. The investment in a film is basically hundreds of millions of dollars, so it requires serious consideration. Few people can invest in and develop the work of a new director as quickly as you can. Aaron knew he was talking about Boys in the Hood, a crime film about the black community. After all, the director, John Singleton, was just a recent black college graduate. Aaron smiled. It can't be helped. Several Hollywood agencies are raising their prices too much these days. Famous directors are expensive. James Cameron and Francis Ford Coppola made $6 million each for Terminator 2, Judgment Day and The Godfather Part 3 respectively. Other directors with successful films command upwards of $3 million, and those with greater fame command $5 million. New directors are cheaper, but the risk is too high. Michael Kuhn wouldn't dare play the same game as Aaron. Carlock's investment in Terminator 2, Judgment Day was indeed a lavish undertaking, with a record-breaking budget of over $100 million. Arnold Schwarzenegger's salary was the equivalent of a Gulfstream IV business jet, costing over $12 million. Carlock's boss, Mario Casar, is a true example of generosity. By the way, Aaron, do you know the brothers Joel and Ethan Kuhn? Michael Kuhn asked. The Kuhn brothers, they established themselves firmly in the independent film world a few years ago with their debut film, Blood Simple, winning the first Film Independent Spirit Award and the second Sundance Film Festival Grand Jury Prize. After that, they released Raising Arizona, and it seems they have Miller's Crossing coming out this year. The Kuhn brothers' films are all dark thrillers, full of suspense and a strong personal style. The Kuhn brothers are, after all, the representatives of the American independent film industry, so Aaron was certainly familiar with them. Michael Kuhn smiled. This time, Polygram invested $9 million for the Kuhn brothers to shoot the thriller Barton Fink. The North American co-distributor is 20th Century Fox. Aaron smiled. Why doesn't Polygram work with Legacy Entertainment or Samuel Goldwyn Films? If they worked with these independent distributors, Polygram would have greater bargaining power. Michael Kuhn glanced at Aaron. Polygram acquired a 49% stake in Studio Pictures in the UK. We actually want to own our own film production company in Hollywood, too. I'm very optimistic about your Dawn Pictures. I thought you were a partner, and you're thinking of acquiring me? Michael, Dawn Pictures only wants to maintain its independence. I know Polygram and Studio Pictures have formed a third-party film distribution company, Manifesto Film Sales. Studio Pictures is responsible for production, and Manifesto Films is responsible for sales. With a Polygram group as their backing, European art films are different from Hollywood commercials. Getting into Hollywood isn't as easy as it seems. Polygram was originally owned 50-50 by Philips of the Netherlands and Siemens of Germany. However, 3 years ago, Siemens withdrew from Polygram, and now Philips is the sole controlling shareholder. Isn't the fastest way to enter Hollywood like Sony's direct acquisition of Columbia TriStar? Investing in a few low-cost independent films, isn't that just nonsense? Michael Kuhn shrugged. Philips is different from Sony. We never thought we'd go this far. Okay, we can still work together someday if the opportunity arises. In Burbank, at Disney headquarters, Michael Eisner sat on the sofa in his office when Group President Frank Wells walked in. Hollywood Pictures' first film, The Little Devil, opens next month. It's just a low-budget horror comedy. Hollywood Pictures was a new adult film production company Michael Eisner had established last year under Buena Vista Distribution. Following the success of Touchstone Pictures, Michael Eisner decided to establish Hollywood Pictures as a competitor to Touchstone. I'm not concerned about this film, but our partner, Amblin Pictures. Amblin Pictures was founded by Steven Spielberg and his assistants, Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall. As Hollywood's leading director, Spielberg only directed films for Universal and Warner Brothers. Other studios were eyeing Spielberg, and Disney was no exception. Collaborating with Amblin was just the beginning. Frank Wells, of course, understood this and then added, Dick Tracy only grossed $24 million in its first 2 weeks, and the reviews were also very poor. The media predicts that by the time it's off the screen, Dick Tracy will only gross $50 million in North America. Michael Eisner nodded. When will filming start on the comic book adaptation The Rocketeer? Jeffrey scheduled it for August. He seems very optimistic about it, Frank Wells replied. Jeffrey Katzenberg, who discovered the film, had enjoyed immense success at Disney thanks to the huge success of this year's Pretty Woman. Meanwhile, Dick Tracy, conceived by Michael Eisner, has been plagued by numerous problems. Not only was the production cost high, but director and lead actor Warren Beatty was also embroiled in a sensational scandal before its release, despite Disney's extensive PR efforts. Yet, the results were still disappointing. Far from earning half of Pretty Woman's box office, it's estimated it won't even reach a quarter. Frank Wells sighed inwardly. Both Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg were highly capable men, but they both possessed a strong desire for control and power. Now, Jeffrey Katzenberg's reputation was rapidly rising, which displeased Michael Eisner. Has anyone discussed increasing the budget for The Rocketeer? Michael Eisner inquired. Yes, the producers submitted a request to increase the budget from $25 million to $35 million so that they could have more grand scenes. However, Jeffrey is still considering it. He said he'll decide after seeing the film's results. Michael Eisner glanced up at Frank Wells. The most important thing for us about The Rocketeer is the marketing of the merchandise and toys. We need to focus on the character and prop design. A $10 million budget increase is worth it. Frank Wells was taken aback, then nodded. He would go and discuss this with Jeffrey Katzenberg. As the lubricant between these two powerful men, Frank Wells needed to maintain their harmony. Chapter 64. Is that too euphemistic? At the end of June, Days of Thunder, the commercial racing blockbuster starring Tom Cruise and directed by Tony Scott, opened in 2,308 theaters across North America, grossing $15.49 million over its first 3 days. However, Days of Thunder's critical acclaim fell short of audience expectations. Aaron Anderson, attending a party at the Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles, ran into Tom Cruise, who was already acquainted with him. "Aaron, you're so cool. You quietly started a film company and are producing your own movies. I saw Phone Booth. It was fantastic," Tom Cruise said with a beaming smile, praising Aaron. "Thanks, Tom." Tom Cruise, who previously opted for arty dramas, has now made a major shift toward commercial films. After all, Tom Cruise's appeal is no small matter. Rain Man is a thing of the past, but last year's Born on the 4th of July, released on a budget of $14 million, grossed $70 million in North America, and $90 million overseas, for a total of $160 million worldwide. As another commercial blockbuster following Top Gun, Days of Thunder's reputation and performance have their limits, no matter how poor they are. What a shame. Your performance in Born on the 4th of July was completely worthy of the Best Actor Oscar. Unfortunately, Tom Cruise faced off against Daniel Day-Lewis. Born on the 4th of July won Best Director. "Really?" Tom Cruise said, appearing nonchalant, but deep down, his desire for an Oscar was undeniable. Of course, those Academy judges are always biased against some people, and acting is only part of the equation. Aaron raised his glass and clinked it with the other man. Tom Cruise nodded in agreement, knowing full well that the Academy judges were biased against actors with outstanding looks. As a top star, Tom Cruise was naturally very busy, so he chatted with Aaron for a while before walking away. A short while later, Aaron ran into his old boss, Paula Wagner. She pointed to the side and asked, "What's going on over there? Why is Spielberg hanging out with the Sony guys?" It was none other than the renowned director Steven Spielberg, along with Mike Medver, the head of Sony TriStar, and Michael Ovitz of CAA. Mike Medver had been a co-founder of Orion and had just joined Sony this year to manage TriStar. Paula Wagner didn't hide it. Mr. Ovitz wants to sign Steven Spielberg and is pushing him to make a hook. With TriStar Films financing, Mike Medver handled Spielberg's early management contracts, and CAA packaged the Hook project and partnered with TriStar. Sony TriStar gets the box office, CAA gets Spielberg's contract, and Spielberg stands to reap huge profits, a win for all three parties. As for Spielberg's claim that he wouldn't make films for companies other than Universal and Warner Brothers, that was simply a lack of money and benefits. After Sony acquired Columbia TriStar, the money was plentiful. A moment later, Aaron saw Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams join the conversation. Aaron laughed. "CAA really likes to play this game. How much profit does Samsung have to give up? The cost of asking Steven Spielberg to make a movie is actually very high. Regardless of whether Amblin Pictures shares the copyright of the movie, Amblin will not pay a penny for all the costs. At the same time, Spielberg must have at least half of the box office revenue. As for the advance payment, Videotape and television copyright income, he must take a commission. How much profit? Paula Wagner smiled. At least half of the profits from the movie Hook didn't go to Samsung, Aaron nodded. It's a good thing Mr. Ovitz didn't succeed in convincing Sony. If Peter Guber and John Peters weren't in charge of Sony Pictures Entertainment, this good thing wouldn't have happened. Paula Wagner looked at Aaron. After Sony acquired Columbia TriStar, the number of films released increased a lot. The number of films produced by Sony itself, invested in, and commissioned for distribution is really impressive. There's no way around it. Sony offers good conditions, and many independent film companies have partnered with Sony. Just look at Aaron and you'll know. The first partner they think of now is Sony. Aaron smiled. They produce and sell electronic products. Music and movies are just media for them to expand their influence. The profit from the movie itself shouldn't be important to them. The Japanese economy is so powerful now. By the way, how's your movie going? I heard from Jack that you've invested in another multi-million-dollar project, Paula Wagner asked. Aaron nodded. It's a new director, a recent black graduate. The film tells the story of life in the black community in Los Angeles. Ms. Wagner, do you have any black actors on hand? Black? Paula Wagner lost interest the moment she heard that. How could she possibly have any black actors? Aaron glanced at the Hook film and thought of something. Isn't there a female lead in that movie? Aaron remembered that the female lead in Hook seemed to be Julia Roberts. However, now that Julia Roberts is an ICM artist, he wondered if they would still choose her. After all, the popularity of Pretty Woman made Julia Roberts the hottest female star ever. Actress. Paula Wagner looked at Aaron and shook her head. This matter really has something to do with you. Julia Roberts followed Richard Lovett to ICM, and you were also the fuse, causing CAA to lose a popular actress for nothing. According to the situation of Hook, Julia Roberts is very suitable. The movie model of big investment, big stars and big publicity is Spielberg's usual way. Now Hook is still in preparation. Whether Julia Roberts will be the heroine or not is up to Steven Spielberg, Mike Medved and Michael Ovitz to discuss and decide. Aaron didn't worry about it. Remembering Quentin Tarantino's request, he asked, has anyone taken the script for Natural Born Killers yet? Why, do you want to develop it? Aaron shook his head. The screenwriter, Quentin Tarantino, works at Dawn Pictures and asked me to ask. It's still in the archives. If there's any news, Quentin Tarantino will definitely be notified. And Jack Wells will tell you too, right? Quentin means that he hopes you will take the initiative to promote it, just like I did with the script for A Fatal Romance. Was he being too euphemistic? Did I know that the script hadn't sold yet? Chapter 65 is guaranteed to be R-rated. Because Quentin Tarantino no longer works at the video store, but instead remains at Dawn Pictures. He previously filmed Phone Booth and is currently attached to Boys on the Hood. In the evening, at a nightclub on Sunset Boulevard in East Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino was embracing two glamorously dressed women. Aaron, sitting on the sofa, curled his lips. When the women approached, he couldn't help but quip, who's more important to you, God or prostitutes? Quentin Tarantino chuckled and said, they're my inspiration. He had spent almost all of the tens of thousands of dollars he earned from selling the script for A Fatal Romance on Call Girls. Okay, CAA will take your Natural Born Killers script to a few producers or directors. I think it's not a big deal. This script has a lot of good points, Aaron said, taking a sip of his wine. Do you have any new ideas? Quentin Tarantino nodded. I do have some, but they're not complete yet. I need time to refine them. However, for now, I'm focusing on the Boys and the Hood project. Once I've gained enough experience, I want to direct my own movies. Then, Quentin Tarantino stared at Aaron Anderson. You said you'd support me directing a movie. You can't go back on your word. Don't worry, Dawn Pictures will support you. Roar. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the nightclub heated up, and shouts rang out. Which celebrity is coming again? Aaron's expression remained calm. It was so noisy, it must be a famous person entering the club. Quentin Tarantino listened and looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a tall, dark figure. Looks like Irvin Johnson from the Lakers. Magic Johnson? Aaron also stood up, secretly thinking about running away. Wasn't this guy about to test positive for HIV? He's a regular at the club. The Lakers were eliminated early in the playoffs this year, and I've run into him in other clubs before, Quentin Tarantino explained quietly. Last season, after the Lakers lost to the Eastern Conference Pistons in the finals, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar retired. This year, The Lakers lost to the Suns in the second round of the playoffs and went home, while the Pistons won their second consecutive NBA championship. Aaron shook his head, unconcerned. Okay, I'm leaving now. You should get some control too. Boys and the Hood is about to start filming. You should focus more on the movie. Quentin Tarantino's demand for call girls was truly fierce. As he left the club, Aaron deliberately glanced at Irvin Johnson's seat. Rumors said he'd slept with over 2,000 women, but he wondered if that was true. As preparations for Boys and the Hood progressed, the crew, including director John Singleton and actors Cuba Gooding Jr., Ice Cube, Morris Chestnut, and Lawrence Fishburne, took their seats. In the neighborhoods of South Central Los Angeles, John Singleton and Aaron stood on a second-floor balcony, pointing to several nearby streets. These neighborhoods have seen many gang fights over the past few decades. Among the black gangs, the fights between the Bloods and the Crips are the most intense and brutal. They manufacture and sell drugs, gamble, rob, and kill people. Black people born in these places have grown up in this environment, and violence is innate. Aaron took a puff of his cigarette. So, in addition to expressing the chaotic scenes of the real black community in your script, the most important thing is that you want to guide the growth of black teenagers. Yes. Broken families, racial discrimination, community crime, and teenage parents are all important factors in the chaos in the black community. As a rare black man with a high IQ, John Singleton knows the problems black people face in growing up, especially in this country with serious racial discrimination. Are you sure you don't want to include some of the bad behavior of white police officers in the script? The white officers in John Singleton's play are polite and professional, while the black officers are hostile and self-loathing. John Singleton shook his head. Today, many successful black people express disgust with their own skin. They all want to live in white communities and follow the white lifestyle, and their attitude towards other black people is even worse. Aaron can quite understand this. Just like Michael Jackson today, many black people boycotted him because of his skin color, saying he betrayed his race. However, the violent scenes in Boys and the Hood can't be too excessive, otherwise the movie won't get an R rating. Aaron's motivation wasn't any responsibility, it was just to make money. Perhaps you don't know, but there's a recent German-American co-production called Juniflower, which is adapted from the novel of the same name by female writer Anna Isnin. It contains some very straightforward erotic scenes and same-sex scenes, so it was rated X by the MPAA. However, after the film company appealed, the MPAA took into account the artistic value of Juniflower and the difference between it and purely sensory erotic films, so the MPAA made an exception and revised the original guidelines of the film rating system, adding an NC-17 restricted rating, which is not allowed to be viewed by those 17 and under. The upcoming Juniflower has become the first NC-17 rated work in the United States, Aaron said, looking at John Singleton. You should understand what I mean. Boys on the Hood can't become the second NC-17 rated film. However, the MPAA's tolerance for violence is higher than for eroticism, so don't be too timid. Just make sure Boys on the Hood can get an R rating. John Singleton nodded seriously. Although my Boys and the Hood is a realistic gangster film, but I mainly want to use the film to improve the youth growth problems in the black community, and I will not glorify or praise violence. I also hope that the film can enter more theaters and be appreciated by more people, so as to arouse everyone's care for the growth of young people in the black community. That's good. Aaron was relieved. This kind of movie must have intentions to have box office success. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about it. I have already negotiated the distribution of the film with Sony Columbia. If nothing unexpected happens, Columbia will arrange for Boys and the Hood to be released in March next year. March, no problem. The filming of Boys and the Hood will only take about 2 months. I will spend another 2 months to complete the editing of the film, and the subsequent sound effects and music can be carried out at the same time. There are black hip-hop singers everywhere here. Will there be a lack of music? Chapter 66, Deep Play in the Mud. With Boys and the Hood progressing smoothly, Dawn Pictures' flagship project, Ghost, returned to Los Angeles after 2 weeks of filming, moving from Chicago to New York. The crew is currently filming a warm and romantic scene featuring the lead actors making ceramics together, which will be accompanied by music. Aaron was left with a deep impression of this classic mud-playing scene. Compared to the original lead actor, Kevin Costner is much more handsome. While Demi Moore, the original lead actress, is also quite good-looking, she still pales in comparison to Nicole Kidman. That afternoon, Aaron met with Sydney Ganis, president of Columbia Pictures. Total Recall, a sci-fi blockbuster produced by Carlock and distributed by Sony, was released in early June and has already grossed over $100 million at the North American box office in just a month and a half. Directed by Paul Verhoeven and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, the film cost $63 million to produce. Meanwhile, Carlock is currently filming Terminator 2, Judgment Day, which still stars Arnold Schwarzenegger but is directed by James Cameron, with production costs reaching an unprecedented $100 million. TriStar Films was able to distribute Terminator 2, Judgment Day thanks to Mike Medvart, the current head of TriStar Films. Orion Pictures was the distributor of the first Terminator film, and Mike Medvart brought the sequel's distribution from Orion to Sony TriStar. Pretty Woman has now grossed over $160 million in North America, and is expected to gross around $180 million by the time it's released. The international box office has already exceeded $250 million, Sidney Ganis said, expressing his envy. Aaron smiled. Don't worry, Ghost isn't bad either. It's a fantasy romance, a love story between a human and a ghost, and it's heartwarming and touching. It's worth the wait, Sidney Ganis glanced at Aaron. But the point is, right now, the highest-grossing movie in North America is Pretty Woman, and second is New Line's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with $135 million. Coincidentally, both of those movies have something to do with you. Third is Paramount's The Hunt for Red October, with $122 million. All three films were released in March during the spring season. The best-performing summer release was Total Recall, while the others, Days of Thunder, Back to the Future III, and 48 Hours, all failed to break the $100 million mark in North America. The recently released Die Hard 2 is also quite good. It's been out for 2 weeks and has already grossed $60 million in just 10 days. Aaron hadn't expected Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to be so strong. Its $130 million is currently second only to Pretty Woman. He didn't know if Die Hard 2 could surpass it, but he was still thinking about 20th Century Fox's Home Alone during the Christmas season, which would definitely surpass Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. CAA sent us a project, Bugsy, a gangster film from the 1930s and 1940s, about the life story of gangster Benjamin Siegel. The director is Barry Levinson, and they want to recommend Warren Beatty for the male lead. Hearing Sidney Ganis' words, Aaron felt a little confused. What's the point of you telling me something like this? What can I say? Sidney Ganis also noticed Aaron's confusion. Dick Tracy has just broken $50 million at the box office, but based on the trend, it'll hardly reach $60 million. Warren Beatty's influence has waned. And with so many scandals, I'm not optimistic about this script, but I'd like to hear your opinion. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel was a famous West Coast gangster at the time, with deep ties to Hollywood and Las Vegas. Aaron smiled. Isn't the situation of Dick Tracy clear enough? Warren Beatty is already 55 years old. Benjamin Siegel was only 41 when he died. He was a gangster playboy from the golden age of Hollywood. Is Sony really that extravagant to let Warren Beatty star in this film? Aaron was happy to see Warren Beatty's plight. The more miserable, the better. Sidney Ganis nodded. Mob biopics tend to win awards, as glorifying gangs is a trend in Hollywood these days. Even if Sidney Ganis isn't interested, CAA could probably get support if they can convince John Peters, Peter Guber, or Mike Medver. That evening, Aaron and Nicole Kidman left Sony Studios together. Ghost wraps filming in a month. Well, how's your new film, Boys and the Hood, going? It's going pretty well. It starts next month. Aaron was a little worried about filming, considering the security situation in the area. However, the main cast of Boys and the Hood are all black, so it shouldn't be a problem. Nicole Kidman was busy filming Ghost, and Jennifer Connelly was about to join the crew of The Rocketeer. At the Dawn Pictures offices in Burbank, Jennifer Connelly, returning from Stanford University, was about to report to the set. Are you saying that The Rocketeer cost an extra $10 million? Aaron asked uncertainly, sitting in a chair with a girl in his arms. Yeah, I heard it was Michael Eisner's idea to get the character designs right, the main character's armor, coat, and props. Aaron nodded. That makes sense. Disney wants to promote toys and peripherals, and the bulk of the expenses isn't just the filming costs. After the movie's release, the accompanying marketing and product promotion will also cost a lot of money. With that, Aaron Anderson embraced Jennifer Connelly and kissed her. After rehearsals for The Rocketeer, he returned to Stanford University for a while. It had actually been a while since Aaron had seen Jennifer Connelly. Even after the kiss, Jennifer Connelly was still lingering. Aaron smiled and stroked the other's 34D. "Have you arranged everything for school?" Jennifer Connelly put her arms around Aaron's neck and rubbed it affectionately. "Yes, the filming of The Rocketeer will take about 14 to 16 weeks. If nothing goes wrong, I should be back to school in mid-November. That means I'll be back to school before Thanksgiving." "No problem. By the way, has the film family trip I filmed in Italy received any response abroad?" Aaron shook his head. "Not much. It just got a Palme d'Or nomination in Cannes before, but it's also a heartwarming family film, and some critics still like it. As for North America, Heritage Entertainment has scheduled it for release in October and introduced it as an art film." Chapter 67. You're out. In a cafe on West 61st Street in South Central Los Angeles, John Singleton frowned at a dreadlocked black man across from him. "Lore, you've already delayed our cruise filming 3 times in the past 2 weeks, causing us significant losses. Besides, we've already informed Boss 1 that we can film here, and his people are cooperating. You're going against one's wishes." John Singleton was furious. Boys and the Hood had only been filming for 3 weeks, and this gang had already come to the set to disrupt it 3 times. Lore, a burly man with dreadlocks, simply smiled at John Singleton. "Your crew came here to film, and only greeted Cripple Juan. Do you look down on us bloods?" John Singleton was worried about the filming schedule for Boys and the Hood, which was set to be released next spring. He spread his hands. "Okay, Lore, you can tell me what you want." Lore grinned widely, revealing 2 rows of white teeth on his dark face. He held up 2 fingers and shook them. $200,000, and I swear to God there will be no more harassment from your crew." "That's impossible," John Singleton shouted excitedly. "We've sent someone to notify Juan." Lore shook the large gold chain around his chest and walked out of the cafe. "Then you can only ask one to protect you." After Lore left, John Singleton sighed. Neither the police nor one could protect the crew forever. These small-scale gangs were really hard to guard against. At this time, Jack Wells came over and patted John Singleton on the shoulder. "I've notified Aaron. We'll handle this matter. You can go back to filming." John Singleton nodded. In the afternoon, Jack Wells met Aaron and explained the problems with Boys and the Hood in detail. "Did they say they've negotiated with Juan the cripple from that neighborhood?" Aaron was speechless. "Can't they handle 3 or 4 small-time thugs?" Jack Wells smiled helplessly. "Most of the black people in that neighborhood are gang members, and their membership is complex. Juan the cripple can control most of them, but those few are from other gangs, and they always show up when the police and Juan's men are not around." Aaron understood. This was impossible to guard against. 200,000? Enough to buy a few lives. How could Aaron initiate this? Otherwise, would he have to pay for any random people who showed up? Boys and the Hood cost $5 million, and these bastards are wasting my money. Jack Wells glanced at Aaron. "I'll take care of them. We can't let them affect the crew's filming progress. They're just 3 or 4 low-class black people. No one will pay attention to them. As long as we deal with that Lore, we should be fine. You know, people die in the black community every day. $5 million is a huge sum of money, and Aaron certainly cares about it. If these guys continue to make trouble, who knows how much he will lose. You go keep an eye on the set now, and have someone find Lore's lair. I'll have someone take care of it when the time comes." Aaron had been keeping an eye on the filming of Ghost. He didn't expect there to be any problems with Boys and the Hood. And Juan the cripple, it seems he's also a piece of crap. "Have you agreed?" Aaron nodded. "Since they want my money, it's unearned gain, and God won't allow that. Convince them to confess to God." Aaron was in a bad mood. Really? Because someone wanted his money? This made him feel very confused. "Okay, wait for my call." Jack Wells was more than willing to send them to see God. Confession and all that was not his business. Soon, the two of them went to the set of Boys and the Hood. Aaron stayed behind to see which bastards wanted his money. Jack Wells quickly left. That evening, at the intersection of West 75th Street, a young black man came to a phone booth, made a call, and hurried back to the intersection. 75th Street, apartment 550, 3 people, Lore's inside, someone just saw them go in. Jack Wells nodded and gave the man $100. The young black man quickly disappeared into the night. Then, Jack Wells called a friend. Half an hour later, Jack Wells and his friend John Levine drove to the area near 550 75th Street. The 2-story apartment was run down, grimy, and its exterior covered in graffiti. John Levine, a German-born man with a fierce appearance and sharp skills, was a street scavenger with long-standing ties to the Wells family. He immediately pulled out 2 pistols with silencers. "I modified them myself, black market goods." "Try them." Jack Wells took the pistols, skillfully toyed with them for a few moments, and then a look of satisfaction crossed his face. Another hour until dawn. Then we'll strike. The dark neighborhood was barely illuminated by the shabby, yellowed streetlights in the distance. John Levine and Jack Wells were like 2 lone wolves in the night, staring intently at their prey. "It's time," Jack Wells said, checking his watch. Immediately, the 2 donned crypt bandanas and other insignia, along with gloves, grabbed their pistols and daggers, and exited the car. They reached 550 and quietly climbed through a window into the 1-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment. "No one's on the first floor, they should all be on the second floor," Jack Wells pointed upstairs. John Levine nodded and went straight to the second floor with Jack Wells. "Well, who are you?" The 2 had just reached the second floor when a dazed black man came out of the bathroom and saw the 2 dark figures in front of him. "Fuck," Jack Wells cursed. Before the other man could react, John stepped forward and grabbed the black man's neck. Puff, the dagger pierced his neck, and John raised his hand and slashed, pinning the black man down until the sound of his struggle died down. Jack Wells also reacted and looked at the man still lying on the sofa. He raised his hand and fired 2 shots accompanied by screams. When he got closer, he shot him in the head. John Levine then let go and rushed to the next room with Jack Wells. "Wait, I'm Laura from the Blood Gang. My money's all here." "I can," just as Laura, naked and about to jump out of bed, was about to explain, Jack Wells shot him twice. "You?" Laura's eyes widened, blood spitting from his mouth as he stared at the 2 men in disbelief. "Is that man outside dead?" Jack Wells demanded. "He's dead, peacefully, though he's bleeding a bit," John Levine grinned. "Jack, you've made it." Looking at Laura lying on the ground, he stretched out his arm and said, "Ambulance, go find the money." "This guy just said he had some," Jack Wells said, crouching down. Grabbing the man's hair, he said, "Laura, right? Don't be afraid, seriously, don't be afraid. Tell me, where's the money?" Laura gasped and pointed to the drawer of the bedside table. John Levine opened it, revealing hundreds of dollars, a large gold chain, and other jewelry. He grabbed it all. "Who are you?" "Chi." Jack fired another shot, directly hitting the other person's head. "You talk too much, let's go." "This gold chain is fake." John looked at the gold chain, then looked at Jack Wells. "Do you believe it? It can float in the water." Jack Wells' smile disappeared. "You are just a small boss after all, and you only have a few $100s. John then took out a Crips gang symbol from his pocket and threw it on the ground. "Okay, let's leave quickly. This chapter has been revised. If I had seen it during the day, I would have changed it long ago." He was on an IV drip for a long time and came back at night. Listen to advice. Chapter 68. Are you tease me? On the outskirts of Los Angeles, John Levine and Jack Wells burned all their clothes and other belongings together. Will those 2 gangs really fall for this kind of scapegoating? Jack Wells was a little confused. Although Laura was from the Bloods and Cripple One was from the Crips, they were both just small-time thugs. It doesn't matter. Anyway, those 2 gangs have always been fighting each other. As long as no one has gone to your crew to do anything bad recently, it's fine. You should behave yourself now. Did your friend say he wanted to invest in you to open a security company? Soon, the 2 pistols were dismantled into parts and thrown in different places, and all traces were erased. "Yes, he supports me to open a security company. He is very smart and capable. He became a multimillionaire at the age of 20, John Levine suggested. This is actually a good idea. You can quit CAA directly and hire a few people to go to the set to be responsible for the safety of the crew. Your friends will support you when they see your ability." Jack Wells thought about it. "What you said makes sense. Anyway, the job at CAA is not promising. You can earn more by working with my friend. Well, go back. Ever since Laurie was dealt with, the filming of Boys and the Hood was on track, and Aaron's focus was of course on Ghost. Jack Wells was very serious about the safety of Boys and the Hood. As for the death of a few gangsters, no one cared or paid attention to it. On West 70th Street in South Central Los Angeles, John Singleton was filming a street fight. Jack Wells, standing nearby, looked grave. "John, why make such a big deal out of it? That's a real gang fight." John Singleton nodded. I only need a few frames. It's rare. Besides, a real gang fight is more meaningful. A moment later, Jack Wells hurriedly led John Singleton, Quentin Tarantino, and the others away from the block where the fight had taken place. Jack, don't worry. It's just a small fight between the Bloods and the Crips. It's okay. It seems that Lore and his gang, who had previously disrupted our set, were murdered. It was a break-in. The bodies were found last night. This kind of thing happens every day. John Singleton patted Jack Wells' shoulder in comfort. He was a producer Aaron had specially assigned to the set to oversee security. Jack Wells' eyes widened. Lore hadn't been found dead for a week? Had the Crip signs left there that night played a role? Jack Wells shook his head. The most important thing right now was filming Boys in the Hood. Don't do that again, John. Street fights could easily drag us into it. Don't worry, we have plenty of footage. I'll go back and edit it properly. There's a lot we can use. Next, we'll go to Compton. A street owned by the Crips, so there shouldn't be any troublemakers there. John Singleton was solely focused on making Boys in the Hood. He didn't bother to think about anything else. Quentin Tarantino, camera in hand, was also excited. That's realism? Jack Wells suddenly felt that these filmmakers were no less capable than himself. Elsewhere, on the set of Ghost, Aaron and lead actor Kevin Costner were discussing their respective films, Dances with Wolves. My edit was 4 hours long, but unfortunately Orion thought it was too long, so they cut it down to 3. Aaron laughed. At 4 hours, theaters wouldn't want to show it. Kevin Costner was a little frustrated. Orion is in financial trouble. And Dances with Wolves is an epic western, and they're trying to win awards. Yeah, it's an epic western, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's coming up soon. Dances with Wolves is having a preview. Aaron chatted with Kevin Costner, not really interested in Dances with Wolves. It wasn't his own film, so why would he be interested? It was just that Orion was filming another film, The Silence of the Lambs, and Aaron was quite interested in that. That evening, at the Wilshire Hotel on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly Hills, Aaron met up with Jennifer Connelly's agent, Nancy Josephson. Hi, Aaron, I didn't expect you to meet me, Nancy Josephson asked, puzzled. Aaron smiled and said, sit down. I want to ask you something. Nancy Josephson looked at Aaron and said, I will only tell you what I can. Of course, I mainly want to know about the thriller The Silence of the Lambs that Orion is currently filming. The leading actress, Jodie Foster, and the person in charge of promoting the project, Mike Medver, are both your clients, right? Nancy Josephson nodded and said, Judy is indeed our contracted artist. This is not a secret. We also recommended Mr. Mike Medver to be the president of TriStar Films. This The Silence of the Lambs is the last film developed by Mr. Mike Medver for Orion, and it encountered many obstacles. You should know the reason. Aaron certainly knew that The Silence of the Lambs was a thriller horror film. Although the original novel was very popular, the author's prequel Red Dragon, adapted into The Night of the Dead a few years ago, was a complete failure. The director of The Silence of the Lambs was Jonathan Demme, a third-rate comedian. The screenplay was adapted by a new screenwriter. British actor Anthony Hopkins, who played Hannibal Lecter, had already fallen on hard times in Hollywood, and aside from the lead actress, Jodie Foster, the rest of the cast was a mess. Yet, Mike Medver defied the odds and raised $19 million to make The Silence of the Lambs. The budget was the same as Dances with Wolves, which had gone over budget. I heard Orion was planning to release The Silence of the Lambs directly to video for the quickest return on investment. Nancy Josephson blinked. Those kinds of things are decided by the studios. ICM is just the agency, and The Silence of the Lambs wasn't an ICM package. Jodie Foster, an Oscar-winning actress, was paid $1.5 million for The Silence of the Lambs, a partial reduction. After all, she loved the novel so much. What if someone wants to buy the copyright of The Silence of the Lambs? Nancy Josephson pursed her lips. Although The Silence of the Lambs has lost its international distribution rights, the adaptation rights and North American distribution rights are still there, and the price will not be very cheap. Aaron looked at Nancy Josephson. Shu Guang is interested in The Silence of the Lambs, but I don't have any cash on hand now. Nancy Josephson speechlessly picked up the coffee and took a sip. Orion is short of money, and you say you don't have cash? Are you kidding me? The last chapter has been greatly changed. This kind of self-indulgence is not acceptable. I listened to advice very well. I caught a cold yesterday and felt groggy all day. It was an accident. The temperature in Guangzhou dropped sharply and many people were infected. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69. A little greedy. Nancy Josephson knew Orion's financial situation was dire. Otherwise, why would Orion have considered releasing The Silence of the Lambs directly on videotape? Selling it directly to video rental chains like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, or to cable TV stations, would have allowed them to recoup their capital. After all, releasing a film always costs money. Aaron, are you kidding me? Nancy Josephson had no idea what she was trying to do. You want ICM to help you raise the money? Aaron picked up his coffee and tapped his fingers casually on the cup. The production cost of The Silence of the Lambs was $19 million. For the North American rights, I'm estimating it to be around $14 million. That's a bit of a stretch. Aaron didn't care or particularly care how much money Orion had gotten for the international distribution rights to The Silence of the Lambs. It was definitely part of the $19 million. It probably wouldn't be much, considering Jodie Foster was the only influential actress, and it was a horror thriller. Now that you know, you're still joking. Nancy Josephson shook her head. Jennifer Connelly's new movie, The Rocketeer, is about to start filming. You should be paying attention. Taking a sip of his coffee, Aaron felt a pity. Not only was The Silence of the Lambs not well received by the outside world, but even Orion itself wasn't optimistic. Now was a golden opportunity. But Aaron knew the film would be a box office and critical success upon its release, reaping huge profits not only in the capital markets but also at the Oscars. He estimated that Orion wouldn't receive more than $10 million for the international distribution rights to The Silence of the Lambs. North American rights could be acquired for between $13 and $15 million. Is Orion's The Silence of the Lambs in post-production? Aaron asked, having learned all this from Kevin Costner. Nancy Josephson nodded. It's almost finished editing, but Orion's priority project is Kevin Costner's Dances with Wolves. Although The Silence of the Lambs is a suspense thriller and has received positive reviews from internal previews, Orion doesn't have much confidence in this kind of film. Whether it's awards or commercial success, Orion lacks confidence in the film. Dawn Pictures still has $3.5 million, and its own account still has $1.3 million. If they want to make a move on The Silence of the Lambs, they'll need to raise another $10 million. Furthermore, Dawn isn't an independent distributor, so even after Aaron acquires the rights, he'll have to work with a distributor. Aaron gave a helpless laugh. It's true that I was a bit greedy. It's very inconvenient not having a distribution company. Nancy Josephson nodded. You should focus on completing your own work now. If you have the opportunity, recruit your own distribution team, or directly acquire a distribution company. That way, you'll have the confidence to purchase films, but the prerequisite for all this is that you need huge financial support. Even if you're distributing works by other film production companies, your publicity and promotion funds must be sufficient to cover the number of films. Moreover, the number of distribution staff is also determined by funding. Even if they are temporary, the cost of publicity and promotion is not low. Okay, I've answered all your questions. Now I want to know the extent of CAA's involvement in Panasonic's acquisition of MCA, Nancy Josephson inquired. Aaron curled his lips. Last year, even though I was just an ordinary agent, I knew that CAA was Panasonic's authorized representative for the acquisition of MCA. Unlike Sony's acquisition of Columbia, where I was just an advisor, I knew nothing else. As for the rest of the news, I certainly wouldn't have known in my position back then. Now, no one knew how far the Panasonic acquisition of MCA had progressed. ICM, CAA's biggest competitor, was undoubtedly concerned, and Nancy Josephson didn't think Aaron Anderson would know anything. Well, I hope we can work together again in the future, Nancy Josephson said, shaking Aaron Anderson's hand and leaving. A little later, as Aaron was about to leave the hotel, he ran into Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder, who were also leaving. Aaron, good evening. What a coincidence. Johnny Depp and Aaron bumped fists. Good evening, Depp. Aaron smiled and greeted, then looked at Winona Ryder. Winona, you're getting more and more beautiful. Thank you. Winona Ryder had a charming figure, strikingly strong eyebrows and eyes, and delicate features that evoke the aesthetic of an Oriental woman. She was bright and beautiful, beautiful and elegant, with a touch of purity in her heroic spirit, and a cool, retro-inspired temperament. Her black curly hair and bright red lips shone with feminine charm. Did you guys attend something? I went to a preview for Edward Scissorhands and came back to change clothes and go to the bar for a drink. Johnny Depp shrugged. Let's go for a drink, Aaron. I haven't thanked you properly for what happened with the river last time. Aaron Anderson was now a well-known figure in the film industry, especially in independent films. Johnny Depp was also a relatively newcomer, so getting to know such a promising producer couldn't hurt. Aaron smiled and shook his head. I'm afraid I won't be able to go tonight. I have to meet a friend. That's a shame, Johnny Depp said with a look of regret. Aaron then drove away from the Wilshire Hotel in his rooster. Aaron Anderson, only 20 years old, has stepped over Warren Beatty to get to the top, Winona Ryder observed, surprised. After all, she'd only met him during auditions, when Aaron was still her agent. Yet, Tracy mentioned it specifically. She's quite optimistic about him. Tracy is Johnny Depp's agent and a former colleague of Aaron's. After leaving the Wilshire Hotel, Aaron headed to the Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard. The person Aaron Anderson had arranged to meet was movie star Al Pacino. When Aaron arrived at the room, not only Pacino, but also director Gary Marshall and actress Michelle Pfeiffer were there. The reason he'd been approached was because Al Pacino had recommended him for Paramount's romantic film Frankie and Johnny, where he would serve as a producer. Aaron was bewildered. Pretty Woman, starring Gary Marshall and Al Pacino, was still in theaters? And now he was preparing for another romantic film? Since Michelle Pfeiffer was in the cast, she was probably the lead actress. She was nominated for Best Actress at this year's Oscars for her role in the romantic film, The Baker Brothers. A movie has multiple producers, so Aaron joining is no big deal, but he hadn't even heard of this movie. Pretty Woman was a success thanks to Julia Roberts, and Al Pacino's image was more suited to gangster films and dramas. So, Aaron politely declined, saying he was working on Ghost and Boys and the Hood. Chapter 70, The cooperation was very pleasant. You've embarrassed Warren Beatty this time. He'll definitely give you a hard time if he gets the chance. Al Pacino and Aaron Anderson sat at the bar in the Rose Bar at the Roosevelt Hotel. Aaron smiled. Warren Beatty, 2 blockbuster failures in a row, and constant scandals. Let's wait until he finds a distributor willing to invest in Bugsy. Sony, despite its wealth, still relies on the salaries of its managers. Columbia Pictures had already turned it down, and there was no telling what TriStar would think. After all, Dick Tracy only grossed a little over $50 million at the North American box office. Disney had spent $47 million on production, plus over $40 million on publicity and promotion, much of which went towards dealing with the Warren Beatty scandal. With that kind of investment, even with Dick Tracy's overseas revenue and the video, Disney would have a difficult time even recouping its investment. By the way, is the Frankie and Johnny project ready? Aaron thought Gary Marshall and Al Pacino were being too impatient. The script for Pretty Woman would be difficult to replicate. Almost there. We've got the director, the actors, the distributor, and the funding. Al Pacino had just helped Paramount film The Godfather Part 3, so it was only natural for him to make another romantic film. Aaron nodded, but then he thought, Al Pacino hasn't won an Oscar for Best Actor yet, right? The film he won for was Scent of a Woman, a low-budget, arty drama that had both good reviews and box office success. Leaving the Roosevelt Hotel and heading back to West Hollywood along Fountain Avenue, Aaron spotted a small theater on Gardner Street for sale. Jack Wells had left CAA, and Aaron thought he should find him something to do first. Aaron was quite experienced in running movie theaters. The next day, in a fast food restaurant near the Blues Brothers Theater on Gardner Street, Jack Wells munched on a hamburger with a look of surprise on his face. Let me run the theater? Aaron nodded, took a sip of coffee and pointed to the Blues Brothers Theater outside. Although it's a bit old, it's still usable. I decided to buy it and run it, and then renovate it when the time comes. After the filming of Boys on the Hood is finished, you can manage the theater while thinking about how to set up a security company. Jack Wells smiled. I don't have that much money. It will cost millions of dollars to buy this theater. Don't worry, I have the money. We'll buy it and split it in half. I don't have time to manage it, so you can be in charge of the operation. Aaron couldn't treat Jack Wells unfairly, and the other party solved the trouble with Boys on the Hood cleanly and neatly. Jack Wells was a bit excited when he heard this. I've never run a business before, so it shouldn't be a big deal, right? Aaron held his forehead. You've bought it all. The biggest expense, rent, is gone. And with that, how can you still lose money? I've seen it. It seats about 300, but the environment is a bit shabby. 300 people watching a movie together is simply too many. It definitely won't work. It needs to be divided into at least 2 halls. Most theaters today are single-story, single-hall models, unlike the multi-hall, often 10-plus halls of the future. When the time comes, we'll just do some simple renovations first. We'll have to rebuild later. In the future, the Blues Brothers Theater could be demolished to build a luxury multiplex. Cinema is evolving, and so are cinemas. Early Nickelodeons and drive-ins have vanished, luxurious movie palaces are struggling. New multi-hall theaters are the new trend, and there are already quite a few theaters with 3 or 5 halls. Reducing the number of people in each hall will provide a more comfortable viewing experience for the audience, while also increasing sales of food and beverages like cola, popcorn, and hot dogs. Okay, I think that's fine, Jack Wells said. He didn't have any specific ideas about security companies at the moment, but having a theater to work in was a good idea. That's good. After filming of Boys on the Hood is finished, go talk to the boss, negotiate a price, and then make some simple modifications. First, we need to add a hall to separate the lobby. We need better sound systems, and then we need couple seating, arranged in a stepped style. Jack Wells left with excitement. In August, filming officially began on Jennifer Connelly's The Rocketeer. Pretty Woman became a global sensation, grossing $170 million in North America and $280 million overseas, for a whopping $450 million. Julia Roberts went from being a nobody to global America's sweetheart overnight. In Burbank, at Disney headquarters, Aaron had his first official meeting with the king of Disney, Michael Eisner. Aaron Anderson, a high school graduate, is only 20 years old this year. He joined CAA and participated in the purchase and sale of Sex, Lies, and Videotape, Cinema Paradiso, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. After changing his career from an agent, he developed a low-cost suspense drama Phone Booth, which made tens of millions of dollars in profit. He persuaded Jeffrey Katzenberg to speed up the development of Pretty Woman, and tried his best to push Al Pacino to play the leading role, which caused a huge conflict with Warren Beatty. Michael Eisner sat in a chair, looking at Aaron Anderson with a sense of dignity. I heard you've developed 2 more projects, one a romance and the other a black drama. Aaron nodded. Yes, they're in collaboration with Sony Columbia. Michael Eisner was surprised. What you've done in the past 2 years, although hard to understand, has yielded astonishing results. After the success of Phone Booth, you should continue to look for similar low-cost thrillers and horror films. Would that be less risky? Who would directly use their own wealth to continue making independent films, and even borrow over $10 million from a bank? How many films that make tens of millions of dollars each year only make 1 or 2 million at the box office? You're only 20 years old, aren't you worried about bankruptcy? Aaron shook his head. Because I have confidence in myself. Even if I fail, I can still be my agent, or I can work as a buyer at a film company. I can always make a comeback. It won't affect my quality of life. Aaron had no idea why Michael Eisner had come to see him. Was it just to say this? There are many young talents in Hollywood, but most of them end up nowhere. This world of extravagance and decadence can easily lead young people astray. Michael Eisner glanced at him and said, Disney wants to sign a 3-year distribution contract with your Dawn Pictures for 3 films, based on a 15% distribution commission. What are your thoughts? Aaron smiled and said, Mr. Eisner, I think we can wait until my work is released next year before discussing this. I'm having a very pleasant cooperation with Sony right now. Chapter 71 Disney King. After Aaron Anderson left, Disney president Frank Wells came to Michael Eisner's office. How was that guy? Frank Wells asked. Very slippery, and very ambitious, with a strong desire for control and full of confidence. Frank Wells nodded. That's a very high evaluation, mainly because he is still young and his vision is indeed good. Forget it, that guy is very close to Sony Entertainment now. Michael Eisner frowned and said, since the Japanese consortium entered Hollywood, it has had a great impact on us. This year Columbia TriStar will release more than 40 films. By then, if Panasonic also acquires MCA Universal, the competition will be even greater. Yes, now Columbia TriStar has reached distribution cooperation agreements with many independent film companies and producers. They are generous and give independent film companies more autonomy. Many filmmakers choose to cooperate with them, Sony's financial offensive is unavoidable. They have broken the Hollywood salary system, as veteran Hollywood film companies, although the other companies do not like Sony's barbaric practices, they are helpless. Michael Eisner's expression was impassive as he inquired about something else. How are Jeffrey's contract extension negotiations going? Frank Wells shook his head. He's very unhappy with his current salary, especially the agreed-upon 2% share of the film's profits. According to Disney's calculations, the film should be in the red, so he won't get the bonus and options he deserves, but he obviously won't agree to that. Since the year before last, Disney's film sales have skyrocketed, especially with the resurgence of its animation division. Coupled with a booming video market, Disney's film and television profits have become Hollywood's highest. Especially since Bill Mechanic, who joined Disney from Paramount alongside Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg, took charge of international distribution and the home entertainment market. International business and the home entertainment market have grown rapidly. Bill Mechanic ended Disney's international distribution partnership with Warner Brothers and established Disney's own international distribution arm, Buena Vista International. In the home entertainment market, Bill Mechanic pioneered a direct sales model for videotapes in partnership with large retailers. The surge in box office revenue, the booming video market, and the development of peripheral and toy merchandise meant that Disney CEO Michael Eisner's annual income, from fixed salary, bonuses, and stock options, exceeded $50 million. Jeffrey Katzenberg's compensation, however, was primarily fixed, and he was naturally dissatisfied. He certainly wouldn't accept Disney's calculation of the 2% of the film's profits. He wants 75% of your compensation, fixed salary, bonuses, and stock options. No way, Michael Eisner refused without a second thought. I'll keep talking to him, Frank Wells said, knowing Eisner wouldn't agree. But Katzenberg wasn't easy to deal with either. Even taking the 2% profit contract to court would be a daunting task. After all, the other party was no small player, and the contract had already been signed. Convincing Jeffrey Katzenberg to extend his contract and give up the 2% profit was a major undertaking. Looking at Michael Eisner, Frank Wells wasn't sure if he could convince him. Disney Animation's resurgence couldn't be separated from Jeffrey Katzenberg. This year, Katzenberg had developed Disney's most successful live-action film to date, Pretty Woman. The progress of Euro Disneyland is the company's current priority. It's set to open next year, and that can't be changed. Also, some of the senior management within the company are wavering, and we need to address that seriously. As Disney's chairman and CEO, with the support of major shareholders Sid Bass and Roy Disney, a member of the Disney family, and other board members, and with Disney president Frank Wells at his beck and call, Michael Eisner's power within Disney was unwavering, and he brooked no challenge. The success of Pretty Woman and the failure of Dick Tracy had led some managers within the company to question Michael Eisner's judgment, believing he was always right without him. The Disney king would not tolerate any challenge to his authority. After leaving Disney, Aaron Anderson drove to Jennifer Connelly's home in the Hollywood Hills community. "You're from Disney. Do you have any projects you'd like to work on with them?" Jennifer Connelly handed the man a glass of water. Aaron shook his head. "Disney's thinking of hiring me for a short period. What do you think?" "No, I'm not really interested. I'm definitely going to do the distribution myself. I'll wait for an opportunity." Aaron's memories were mainly from the future, and with these memories, distribution was the perfect fit. Companies like Carlock and Castle Rock are purely film production companies, not involved in distribution. They can develop larger productions. After all, they can receive some production funding from distributors. Independent film companies that invest and distribute at the same time can easily get themselves into trouble, as was the case with Orion. Meanwhile, elsewhere, at CAA headquarters in Beverly Hills, CAA Chairman Michael Ovitz had just seen off Panasonic Executive Vice President and CFO Masahiko Hirata, a representative of Panasonic President Akio Tani. It seemed that Panasonic's acquisition of MCA had encountered difficulties again. Last year was the first year of the Heisei era, when Sony acquired Columbia TriStar. In the second year, Panasonic attempted to follow Sony's lead and enter Hollywood, but it couldn't ignore public opinion in the United States. CAA President Ronald Mayer knocked on the office door and, glancing at Michael Ovitz, who was leaning back in his chair, sighed. TriStar is willing to invest in director Barry Levinson's new film, Bugsy, but they absolutely cannot let Warren Beatty play the leading role. Michael Ovitz pinched his forehead. Then quickly find someone else. Disney's Eisner was very dissatisfied with Warren Beatty's performance in Dick Tracy, which cost Disney a lot of money. He called him a Hollywood pig. I recommended another gangster biopic, Billy Bathgate, to Disney and agreed to cast Dustin Hoffman in the lead role, which helped to appease Eisner. Furthermore, CAA was arranging a big-name actor to guest star in Billy Bathgate. As for Warren Beatty, just leave it to the agents below. He's not entitled to these resources. Ronald Meyer nodded. TriStar agreed to support Bugsy, but for Hook, Mike Medvort wants Julia Roberts as the lead actress. He rejected all the CAA actresses we recommended. Fuck, Michael Ovitz couldn't help but curse at the mention of Julia Roberts. She was going to be another big name for CAA, but because of that idiot Warren Beatty, she became a major ICM client. Chapter 72 No Overspending. Warren Beatty's villa in Beverly Hills. Director Barry Levinson sat on the sofa, looking at Warren Beatty with a helpless look on his face. The project Bugsy has been recommended to TriStar Pictures. The lead actor is Al Pacino. Barry Levinson was the director and producer of Bugsy. Warren Beatty wanted to play the lead actor himself, but TriStar Pictures wouldn't allow it. Warren Beatty looked indignant. Don't CAA support me either. Both CAA and TriStar are optimistic about Al Pacino for the role. His age is right. After he finishes filming the romantic film Frankie and Johnny, he will join the cast of Bugsy. It was obvious that Barry Levinson had no other choice. What happened to Al Pacino's recently released Pretty Woman? Look at Dick Tracy, which cost 4 times as much and grossed less than a quarter of what it did. Word of mouth was the opposite. Saying his age wasn't right was just giving Warren Beatty a face-saving spin. Besides, Al Pacino was perfectly suited to play the role in a gangster film. Warren Beatty's expression kept changing, finally becoming ferocious. This is all because of that bastard Aaron Anderson. He made such a big fuss about Dick Tracy and Pretty Woman. Barry Levinson, who won the Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Director for last year's Rain Man, was naturally quite famous. In his heart, he wasn't in favor of Warren Beatty playing the role. Not only was he a dozen years older, but he also had too many scandals. Then he said, Dustin agreed to star in Disney's gangster biopic, Billy Bathgate, and also accepted Hook, a collaboration between Spielberg and TriStar. He suggested you try some low-budget films first to get your bearings, or maybe take on some supporting roles. Disney chairman Michael Eisner's displeasure with Warren Beatty was no secret among the top brass. He even called him a Hollywood swine in the New York Post and the National Enquirer. If Michael Eisner hadn't known Michael Ovitz for years, Disney probably wouldn't have even considered Billy Bathgate. Bang! Warren Beatty smashed his coffee cup after Barry Levinson left. Compton, on the set of Boys and the Hood, director John Singleton was directing the filming, while Jack Wells was talking to Aaron. Given the current situation, Boys and the Hood might not have enough money for post-production. Aaron was stunned. With $5 million to spend on a film like this, they couldn't afford post-production. Jack Wells nodded. It was delayed for a few days. And those black guys are just too lazy. They can't live without women when they're not filming. Jack Wells' tone was clearly filled with dissatisfaction. Especially the film's protagonists, Cuba Gooding Jr. and Ice Cube. They're practically seeing women every night, which is slowing down filming. It made sense for Ice Cube to be like this. After all, he was a member of the rap group NWA with Dr. Dre and Eazy-E. He'd released a solo album last year, which was quite successful, making him a representative figure of West Coast gangsta rap. What's going on with Cuba Gooding? Aaron was puzzled. This guy is just a newcomer. He was just a marginal character playing a minor role in a TV series before. Boys on the Hood is at least the protagonist of a $5 million movie. Doesn't he cherish it? Jack Wells spread his hands. It's in his genes. Maybe it's innate. You know, black people's minds are always full of mosaic images, sports and music. New directors, singers, and marginal actors are not professionals. Filming is slow. Aaron nodded. I see. I'll talk to the director later. The budget is limited. If we can't finish the film, I will be very unhappy. Besides, the movie has a lot of location scenes and uses a lot of extras. You must try your best to ensure the director's authority on the crew. Ghost is about to end. I will be there then. I'll keep an eye on the crew and try not to let the movie go over budget, Jack Wells said. After all, this is his first time participating in a feature film, not a documentary or a short film. He also cherishes the opportunity, especially now that Aaron plans to buy a theater for him to run. and will support him in opening a security company in the future. In the evening, John Singleton invited several leading actors to a party at the bar and gave them serious advice. It's not easy to get investment from Dawn Pictures for the project of Boys and the Hood. Although Mr. Anderson is young, his resume is very successful. He is younger than us, but the achievements he has made are not comparable to ours. The filming progress of Boys and the Hood has been a bit slow recently, John Singleton said, and deliberately looked at Cuba Gooding Jr. and Ice Cube, and finally stopped his gaze on Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba, you are the male lead of the movie and have the most scenes. If you can't keep a good attitude, it will have a huge impact on the movie. You have acting talent, but if your attitude is not good, even though the movie is more than half shot now, I will discuss with Aaron and replace you, and we will find someone else to reshoot your scenes. When Cuba Gooding Jr. heard this, his face changed and his body trembled. John, don't worry, I won't go out at night in the future, and I will come to the crew in the best condition, shoot the next scenes with the best mental outlook. He was really scared. Boys and the Hood was a $5 million feature film, and he was just a minor actor in a TV series. It was a blessing from God that he got this role. If he lost this opportunity, he didn't know if he would have such good luck in the future. John Singleton nodded. Everyone should understand the current situation. There are very few black actors in Hollywood. The only things we see in films about black people are gang members, drug addicts, call girls, and lazy homeless people. My original intention in making Boys and the Hood was to let more people know about the problems facing young people growing up in the black community, not only for us to be vigilant, but also to let people of other races know that we black people should be more caring and tolerant. We don't want to be the bad guys who destroy society. Aaron didn't care how John Singleton managed the black actors on the crew. What Aaron wanted was to complete the film on time and within budget. After all, his $5 million budget was a real investment. If Aaron was unhappy, every black director, actor, singer, and so on would be in trouble. Meanwhile, Jack Wells took Aaron to the Blues Brothers, the owners of the Blues Brothers Theater, to discuss purchasing the theater. $920,000, Aaron knocked on the table. This is the lowest price. The equipment inside was just replaced in the past 2 years, so it's at least 70% new. Okay, sign the contract. Aaron didn't waste any more time. This place is worth investing in real estate. Please collect, read, support. Chapter 73. Be careful in auditions. Okay, I declare the final show of Ghost over. After 2.5 damn months, we can celebrate tonight. Aaron's already booked a venue at the Culver City. After director Edward Zwick announced the wrap of filming on Ghost, the crew erupted in activity. Oh, I'll definitely have a nice drink then. I want to sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. Nicole Kidman relaxed and drove back to Aaron Anderson's place in West Hollywood. Meanwhile, Aaron Anderson had just bought a new car from a dealership, a Lexus LS400. Japanese car sales in the US are truly impressive. Toyota's new luxury sedan brand, Lexus, launched 2 years ago, sold 160,000 units a year. Having just purchased a Blues Brothers theater and given Jack Wells $300,000 for renovations, Aaron's personal bank account was running low on $1.3 million. Hey, Jack, don't forget the party at the Culver City tonight, Aaron called Jack Wells to let him know. I remember. By the way, do you have any ideas for the theater's name? I think we should change it, then just pick anything. Aaron didn't care about such trivial matters. That evening, at the Culver Hotel, a wrap-up party for Ghost was held, a chance for the crew to relax. Aaron, Edward Zwick, and David Fincher discussed the film's post-production. Editing, special effects, and the soundtrack, everything needs to be as perfect as possible. Sony Columbia plans to release Ghost in the summer, so there's still time. Aaron had just finished speaking when his assistant, Iselin Beckett, a blonde woman wearing glasses, approached, seemingly wanting to speak. Well, enjoy tonight, Arthur said, patting both of them on the shoulders. Iselin, what's up? Iselin Beckett, a former production assistant at Orion, had been hired by Aaron as an assistant for his own company. That old film we were talking about last time was a 1970s Italian comedy called Scent of a Woman, nominated for both Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Foreign Language Film at the Academy Awards. It's about the travels of a retired blind lieutenant and his assistant. Aaron came back to his senses and smiled. That's even better. We can just buy the remake rights. Italian director Giuseppe Tornatore and I are friends, so we can definitely ask him to help us secure them. Aaron had thought of Scent of a Woman since his previous meeting with Al Pacino. He only remembered that it was a remake of a foreign film, though he didn't know the details, but he remembered some of the plot. Now that Esther Beckett had found her, it had to be Scent of a Woman. Esther Beckett nodded. Also, there's news from Orion. Their financial situation is getting increasingly dire, and The Silence of the Lambs isn't slated for a release this year. Aaron knew Orion wasn't planning on releasing The Silence of the Lambs this year. Wasn't it because he didn't have the money to get involved? Okay, let's buy back the remake rights for Scent of a Woman first. Without the release of Ghost, Aaron really didn't have the funds to do anything big. While Aaron was celebrating the completion of filming on Ghost, Hollywood underdog Warren Beatty was being interviewed by Entertainment Weekly. Time Magazine Incorporated had just launched Entertainment Weekly this year, based on People magazine, but focusing primarily on the lives of Hollywood stars. When the reporter asked about the comparison between Pretty Woman and Dick Tracy, Warren Beatty responded with disdain. The young man who just entered Hollywood was blessed by God. He just happened to have a few successful works by speculative tricks. He can't gain a foothold in Hollywood by relying on this kind of clever tricks, the reporter smiled. Mr. Warren Beatty, but the young man you are talking about has won praise from Walt Disney Film chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg and superstar Al Pacino. Moreover, the Dawn Pictures he founded is developing his second and third films at the same time. Warren Beatty's expression was flat. So what? Will God always bless him? In fact, the reporter was not very interested in Aaron Anderson's affairs. After all, he was a producer, not a star, and he didn't have enough explosive points. By the way, are you still seeing Madonna Ciccone? Madonna's ex-husband, Sean Penn, previously said you were a Hollywood pimp from the old days. What do you think? Also, is it true that you and Madonna had wild sex? Are you still in contact with French actress Isabelle Adjani? As the questions grew more and more demanding, Warren Beatty's expression grew increasingly grim. It was morning in West Hollywood, at Aaron's apartment. The bedroom bed was a mess. After a frantic night of sex, Aaron Anderson and Nicole Kidman both woke up. Her slender, sexy body, her fair skin dotted with lingering kisses, lay on top of Aaron. Nicole Kidman kissed him. Aren't you getting up, honey? Feeling the alluring body in his arms, Aaron caressed her. You've been so busy, why can't I enjoy myself? Nicole Kidman smiled but said nothing. She simply lay on top of him, caressing Aaron's smooth abs. At noon, Nicole Kidman handed Aaron a newspaper and said with a smile, "It seems that Warren Beatty said you are a speculator, a lucky young man." Aaron took it casually and took a look, with no expression on his face. What a naive fool. Can't you see the situation clearly now? This guy is in a scandal now, unless there is a major exchange of interests. Who would still use him as the male lead? After putting down the newspaper, Aaron leaned on the sofa and patted the girl. Nicole Kidman sat in the man's arms. Boys and the Hood will be wrapped in about 2 to 3 weeks. I have to keep an eye on it. There are many new members of the crew, so the shooting progress is a bit slow. You can have a good rest recently. Wild at Heart is an art film and there are not many publicity activities, I know, but Wild at Heart will be released in the next few days, and I still have to participate in some promotional activities. As she spoke, Nicole Kidman kissed Aaron on the cheek again. However, my agent said that Disney has a gangster biopic in preparation, and it needs a sexy and beautiful female role. They will arrange for me to audition. Disney's gangster biopic. Aaron smiled casually. Hasn't the failure of Dick Tracy taught them a lesson? Nicole Kidman leaned close to Aaron's ear. It seems to be Billy Bathgate, which is adapted from the novel of the same name by the writer El Doctoro. The starring role is Dustin Hoffman. The novel Billy Bathgate won the National Book Critics Circle Award and the Faulkner Literary Award in the United States this year, and was selected by Time magazine as one of the 10 best works in the world in the 1980s. Aaron Anderson has never been interested in gangster movies, and frowned, because of Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman seems to have also joined the fantasy adventure film Hook, which is a collaboration between Steven Spielberg and TriStar Films. Looking at Nicole Kidman in his arms, Aaron reminded, Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty have a good relationship. Don't look at his honest and cowardly face. This guy is not a good person. It is common for him to harass actresses on the crew. When you go to the audition, you must pay attention. If you have any questions, just call me directly. Nicole Kidman certainly understood what Aaron meant and nodded. Don't worry, I know what to do. Now Ghost has just been finished. I have great confidence in you. We have to wait until Ghost is released next year. Aaron pinched the girl. What if Ghost does not perform well? What are you going to do? Well, I have you. You will definitely continue to give me opportunities. Chapter 74 Chaotic Crew. Oversized tops, baggy jeans, swaying to the beat, graffiti-covered sweatshirts. The Compton set of Boys on the Hood was filled with a hip-hop vibe. The 5 elements of hip-hop culture, beatboxing, DJing, graffiti, and rapping, were embraced by many young people. Hey, men, don't worry, the movie will be finished on time, Ice Cube said, approaching Aaron and offering a fist bump. Aaron nodded. I'm sure John can handle this. He glanced at Ice Cube and said, it's such a shame NWA broke up. You guys were the epitome of West Coast hip-hop. NWA spearheaded gangsta rap, the most important branch of West Coast hip-hop, and helped to rival its East Coast roots, New York. However, NWA disbanded after just 2 years due to financial instability. Ice Cube shrugged and smiled nonchalantly. My main issue is with Dr. Dre. Actually, I have a pretty good relationship with Eazy-E. At this point, director John Singleton called a 15-minute break. How's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s performance? Was it okay? Aaron approached John Singleton to inquire about his performance. Aaron had been spending some time on the set every day these days. He'd specifically gotten angry with Cuba Gooding Jr. a few times, asking him to control his anger and perform well. John Singleton smiled. Much better. You're a producer and an investor, so you have an aura around you. How dare the actors disobey you? Aaron stretched. Too lazy. I won't get far. I have a reputation for racial discrimination, but I need to be strong myself. Boys and the Hood started filming in July and is now in September, catching up with the shooting time of Ghost. Aaron had already decided in his heart that he would never make a film about black people again. They were just too much to handle. We still have a week to wrap filming. I'll finish the editing as soon as possible, John Singleton said, knowing that Aaron was dissatisfied with the progress of the filming and that $5 million was not enough to complete the film. Aaron patted the other man on the shoulder. I've increased the budget by $500,000, enough to complete post-production on the film. Just focus on your own work. I'll be visiting the set of Jungle Fever this afternoon. Spike Lee invited me to visit Jungle Fever, a racist romance film written and directed by black director Spike Lee, recently arrived in Los Angeles for filming. 2 days ago, he specifically visited the set of Boys and the Hood and invited Aaron to visit his set if he has time. Spike Lee, 33, is his third feature film. Last year, he wrote and directed Do the Right Thing, which was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. Jungle Fever stars black actor Wesley Snipes and white actress Annabelle Shore as a transatlantic love story. Hey, Aaron, you're here, Spike Lee said, giving Aaron Anderson a warm hug upon seeing him on the set of Jungle Fever in downtown Los Angeles. Good afternoon, Spike. Spike Lee invited Aaron to a chair nearby and lit a cigar. Want one of these? Aaron shook his head, then took out his Marlboro and lit one as well. Is everything going well on the crew? John Singleton is a newcomer, directing a film for the first time, so there are bound to be some shortcomings. Spike Lee's works have always dealt with themes of racial discrimination, and he certainly hopes there will be no accidents with the younger black directors. Spike Lee knew the problems with a crew of Boys and the Hood. The lead was a newcomer, while the experienced Aaron Anderson was heavily involved in another project. Furthermore, the proportion of newcomers on Boys and the Hood was too high, with too few professionals, too many locations, and a large number of extras, which was a real challenge for scheduling. Aaron exhaled a puff of smoke. It's okay, I increased the budget by $500,000, it's almost done, and we can complete post-production. Spike Lee smiled. Actually, for this kind of movie, it's suitable to be shot in New York. Harlem perfectly fits the theme of Boys on the Hood, and there are more independent films there. Besides, I know a lot of people there who can help. Aaron leaned back in his chair. John and I are both native Los Angeles people, and we are familiar enough with this place. Right, okay, things are under control. Aaron patted the other party. Let's go for a drink tonight and experience the nightlife in Los Angeles, which is no worse than New York. Spike Lee opened his mouth excitedly, and his expression immediately moved. Oh, God, we can't wait. In terms of nightlife, the only place that can compare with Los Angeles is probably Las Vegas. Although New York is not bad, but how can it compare to the charm of Los Angeles? That evening, Aaron Anderson, along with Jack Wells, John Singleton, Quentin Tarantino, and others from the crew, along with Spike Lee and Wesley Snipes, arrived at a Hollywood nightclub. Has it been decided? Increase the budget by $500,000, Jack Wells whispered. Aaron nodded. Well, the important thing now is to successfully complete the film. I won't be working on any more projects with black people. They're all so lazy, lustful, slow to react, and poor learners. If Aaron hadn't known this movie would make money, he wouldn't have gotten involved with him. Jack Wells smiled. Now you understand why I've never really liked black people, right? What about black women? Aaron asked. There are some pretty good ones. Their glowing chocolate black skin paired with those rounded butts is pretty hot. Aaron glanced at Jack Wells. Do all Americans like big lips and big butts so much? Then, his gaze shifted to Wesley Snipes, dancing with a woman nearby. This was the future Blade Runner. Wesley Snipes, now 28, hadn't been in the industry long, but he had a body of work to his name. However, Aaron was more impressed by the young black woman Wesley Snipes was holding. 24-year-old Halle Berry, a beauty pageant winner who had entered Hollywood, had a small, short role in Jungle Fever. Now, dancing in Wesley Snipes' arms, it was clear what their relationship was. However, Aaron had seen her leaving director Spike Lee's office during the day. Aaron was well aware of the chaotic Hollywood crews, let alone independent films like this. It wasn't just chaos, it was practically beyond moral standards. Aaron had an impression of black women who had good looks and figures, and that was Halle Berry, who was of mixed race. Okay, I'm going to the restroom. Aaron put down his glass and stood up. After washing his face and emerging from the restroom, a scantily clad woman standing in the hallway asked seductively, "Want some fun? $200 will do." Aaron didn't even bother to glance at her, waving her off. Just then, Wesley Snipes, with his arm around Halle Berry, was about to enter the restroom. Seeing Aaron, he smiled and said, "Aaron, I absolutely love the LA nightlife." Aaron smiled, noting that she was clearly a bit high, and nodded, "Have fun, Mr. Anderson. I'm Halle Berry, and I'm an actress." Taking advantage of the moment, Halle Berry quickly came to promote herself. Chapter 75. Take off your clothes. By mid-September, filming on Boys and the Hood had finally wrapped, and post-production had begun. Fuck, I'm down to $3 million, Aaron muttered to himself, leaning back in his chair at the Dawn Pictures offices in Burbank. Boys and the Hood had cost him another $500,000. Only $3 million remained in the company's account. It was truly appalling. Jack Wells, standing nearby, paused, sensing something was amiss. "No, you're now $9 million in debt." Aaron's lips twitched. He didn't understand the humor. Owning the bank, how could you even call it debt? Have you started on the theater renovations? Not so fast. We're still designing. We'll probably start next month, and it should open next year. Jack Wells, watching closely, had been watching. We've decided on a name for the theater, the Angel Theater. Fine, he said. You can call it the Jesus Theater, the God Theater, the Satan Theater, or the Hell Theater. Aaron didn't care. After the renovations, we've lost a lot of seats. By then, we'll probably only have 110 to 120 seats in each of the two halls. No problem, we've got some extra couple seats. Even if they were a little higher, it's still cheaper than renting a room. If we sell more popcorn, the hot dogs and Coke will all go back. Okay, I'll be leaving now. Elsewhere, in the audition studio for Billy Bathgate at Disney Studios, Nicole Kidman entered. Billy Bathgate's director, Robert Benton, producer Robert Collisberry, and actor Dustin Hoffman were all there, along with other supporting cast members. With her blonde hair, blue eyes, tall figure, and stunning looks, Nicole Kidman perfectly suited the role of Dustin Hoffman's mistress. After I came to Hollywood, I had a cameo appearance in the suspense film Phone Booth and starred in Wild at Heart, directed by David Lynch. This film is currently being released and won the Palme d'Or at this year's Cannes Film Festival. Also, I just collaborated with Mr. Kevin Costner on a fantasy romance film Ghost. Following Nicole Kidman's introduction, the three of them also learned about her experience, which was not bad. "Well, start performing according to the script manuscript we just received." Director Robert Benton spoke first. "Okay." Following Nicole Kidman's performance, Robert Collisberry in the seat thought it was very good and signaled the other two with his eyes. Director Robert Benton nodded slightly. Both her appearance and performance met the requirements. Dustin Hoffman smiled. "Billy Bathgate requires you to show your body, so we want to see you without clothes." Director Robert Benton and producer Robert Collisberry, upon hearing this, remained expressionless, their gazes fixed on Nicole Kidman. Even the other staff members in the room crossed their arms, watching Nicole Kidman with a look of intense interest. Nicole Kidman was startled. It didn't say we were going to show nudity. In the full script, your character does have some nudity, Dustin Hoffman said slowly. Being asked to show her body in front of so many men, the clever Nicole Kidman realized she was being targeted. I am not ready yet. I need to go back and think about it. You only get one chance. There are other young women waiting outside. You only have 1 minute to think about it. Faced with the aggressive pressure from Dustin Hoffman and the others, Nicole Kidman felt like a clown. Erin's warning flashed through her mind, and she immediately left the audition room. She also knew that leaving the audition room now would mean she'd miss out on the role of Billy Bathgate. Nicole Kidman sighed as she exited Disneyland. Fortunately, she had a film called Ghost coming out next year, so she didn't have to worry about exposure. The role of Billy Bathgate's mistress wasn't something the crew really cared about. There were indeed plenty of sexy, beautiful women in Hollywood. That evening, at a Japanese restaurant in Beverly Hills, Nicole Kidman met Erin Anderson for dinner. "How's the box office for Wild at Heart?" Erin asked, expertly picking up sushi with his chopsticks. Nicole Kidman shook her head and said, "It took 3 weeks to break $10 million. Commercially, it's not very successful. Black comedy love crime films like Wild at Heart are indeed not very popular in the market. You know, Phone Booth starring Nicolas Cage also grossed over $30 million. Erin smiled. "It's okay. David Lynch's works have never had any commercial value, and his works have always been representatives of art films." Nicole Kidman nodded, and looked at Erin again. "Today I went to Disney to audition for Billy Bathgate. It's the role of a gangster's mistress." "Really? How was the result?" "It doesn't quite fit the role. The play requires me to show my body mainly, and during the audition, the director, producer and Dustin Hoffman asked me to take off my clothes in front of everyone." Erin put down his chopsticks. "Did you take it off?" "No, I left." Erin was relieved, and his tone was flat. "Hollywood is a place for exchange of interests. You are not very famous now. What everyone wants is nothing more than your body. It won't take long. Soon, I will be the person sitting at the table and eating the food, not a dish on the table. I understand. I have a movie coming out next year, so it's not too urgent," Nicole Kidman said, and took a sip of wine. Nicole Kidman was well aware of her situation. If she didn't have someone to back her up in Hollywood, she'd be completely exploited. Erin Anderson was young, handsome, his career was booming, and his vision was sharp. With a man like him to protect her, she definitely wouldn't choose a bald, pot-bellied old white man. Dustin Hoffman, Erin smiled, having completely memorized him. He'd jumped in during his previous conflict with Warren Beatty, and now he's doing it again. Damn it. "Erin, I don't have much to lose right now. I should focus on movies. Dawn Pictures has 2 projects in post-production," Nicole Kidman couldn't help but remind him. "Don't worry, it's just a Jewish dwarf, no big deal." After dinner, the two prepared to drive back to their West Hollywood apartment. "Nicole, we're on the highway now," Erin couldn't help but remind her, as the car drove down Santa Monica Boulevard, facing the allure of Nicole Kidman in the passenger seat. "Honey, let's go to the alley ahead." Nicole Kidman licked her lips and blew a breath into Erin's ear. Erin smiled and turned directly into a small alley off the street, turned off the engine, and turned off the lights. It wasn't until more than half an hour later that the car passed through the alley and drove back to West Hollywood. "Nicole, you're really getting better and better," Erin couldn't help but praise her. Nicole Kidman casually adjusted her messy golden hair. "Well, let's go back first." End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.